I forgot whose show this was.
I haven't even started recording. Okay, now we're
recording.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so
I do have to let people know.
That's live. Oh, so if you want to share it, it's on.
We're in this bitch.
It's on my page.
On your Instagram?
Oh no. Okay, so we're doing the Instagrams. But I'm gonna do a Snapchat.
What page is it on?
It's on all pages. It's
about to go on Trent Knox podcast. What's it called?
Trent Knox Show. But Talking Shop.
Talking Shop. The Trent Knox Show. Boom, baby. We in this.
All right, hold on. Hey, it's Trent Knox in here with the studio of Bryan Kern, host of the Common Chaos Podcast. Say what's up, Bryan.
What up?
All right. Hey, follow us on Trent Knox pages on Facebook, social media. Oh, man, that's dumb. Whatever. Attach this. Attach this. This story. Our story. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't go, it goes.
Goes.
If it goes, it goes. All right, so we've been live here for a little bit. This is Trent Knox, just catching up with you guys again. Haven't been in the podcast studio setting for a while with Bryan. We're doing a new series or set of episodes called Talking Shop, and it really came from this idea that I started with Knives Monroe. We did the Talking Shop, wanting to get bring back some of my old friends, some new friends who are in the podcasting business, and talk about how did you get into podcasting? When did it start? What was the inspiration? And you take it away, Bryan. How did it start?
I started doing podcasting with you, my first ever guest. Mm-hmm. It was an idea, obviously, because everybody podcasts. So I was like, I want to do a podcast. But actually, like, having the foundation of a podcast and equipment and actually doing it was 2017. And I did it just because I wanted to talk and rant and ramble, and I'm one of those guys that you fucking get me going on a subject, I'm going to be nonstop. I'll go down rabbit holes. We can discuss ideas, fucking experiences. That's what I'm about. And to segue into what my podcast is about, it's been through a couple of different phases, and I've been working on a lot of different things in terms of what type of content I want to provide and what I really want to present to people. And it's kind of like this ever evolving little project that I'm working on. I feel like I've found my my baseline of where I want to start, where I'm really going to have my foundation and where I'm really going to start implementing these different little things that I've got running through my head. I've got a lot going on with it right now, which I'm really excited about. I can talk about that later, but yeah, I got into podcasting as a way to basically showcase and highlight my friends, their projects, and see what was going on in their worlds, basically. And I think that that's probably what most podcasts start as, and the ones that are successful obviously evolve and find their niche and pave their way in terms of being different from other ones, or being unique, or being really good on one end or on one topic or whatever it may be. And it's fun. It's a challenge. It's something that I've dove into it, and at times it's been tough, but I've definitely just kept going at it, and I enjoy it. I love it. I love being able to come up with ideas with people. Doing something like this is also fun. Something that's very, it's routine almost, because we've done this a couple different times, several times actually, and we did our own podcast and had our own show and stuff that we were doing. But it's always something different as well. So It's just fun.
So what do you think? Define podcast. What is a podcast? Not like in the dictionary term, but like, what is a podcast?
I think a podcast is now how you're, I think it's just a new radio. I think it's new age radio is essentially what it is. Radio is broadcasted on frequencies, and it's broadcast live simultaneously throughout the world. And it's, people are talking about how it's a dying platform and it's archaic, and it kind of is. A podcast, the word pod came from iPods. I mean, and they don't even exist anymore. So what are we going to change the name of podcasting? No, I think podcasting is its own little realm of things. It's a way to consume media. It's something that is recorded. And I mean, I definitely think that it has to fall within a certain line of it has to fall within a parameter. You have to, I mean, I don't know. I assume you'd have to have just audio. You have to have not necessarily streamed, but it's got to be accessible through podcast platforms. So Stitcher, Apple iPods or Apple Podcasts, YouTube, even though people are doing video and putting it up on YouTube and calling it podcasting. So I think it's just the way it's presented, as long as it's got some sort of structure in terms of how it's being recorded and presented to people, and it's on the major platforms that are going to promote and produce podcasts, then I think you have a podcast. Yeah. Some people still call radio shows. I mean, they're still Sirius and they're still XM and I don't know if they're still XM anymore, but you still have some satellite radio stations and some other radio stations that do live, recordings, and you have like the Breakfast Club that's on like actual radio, but then you also have like the Breakfast Club podcast, which you can download and listen to. So I think it's just a way of having that radio presentation and that radio feel, but not necessarily being in the radio realm, I guess.
Did you get a chance to sit down and watch the Joe Rogan, Charlemagne the God,
I did.
Andrew Schultz? What was your takeaway from it?
I didn't really listen to, I mean, obviously I know what Breakfast Club is, and I've listened to like the big episodes. I never really got into Charlemagne outside of listening to him on Rogan. I mean, I definitely went back and listened to a couple of his interviews. The one where he was calling what's-her-face, the original, they made a joke about it on the Rogan podcast, but anyways, the chick that was biracial and ended up not being biracial, and he won me over with how he is, his comedy, his firm stance on not calling women bitches in 2019. I think is something unique. And hearing his story and how he came up through radio and through the different platforms, being assistants, being fired from some pretty well-known radio hosts and some pretty well-known personalities, into being able to create his own voice and do his own thing. It's definitely something to take note of and something to appreciate. I like him. He won me over.
So I guess like for me, podcasting started not from what I thought would be turning into podcasting. It was from live streaming, which I kind of want to differentiate in certain times, but I feel like podcasting to me has some sort of educational value to it, but more so now that's changing, where people are doing like full scripted shows and whatnot, and like some of the top podcasts are actually like audio series.
And see, that's what was making my explanation of it so difficult is I immediately went to like the crime series podcast, the true crime podcast, Serial and Last Pod on the Left or whatever they are.
Yeah,
they're very unique in that they are storytelling. They're not an interview. They're definitely not like improv and off the cuff. They're scripted, like you said. They're scripted. They follow a suit. It's a lot of times fictional. Some of it's nonfiction as well, but it's still presented in a way that's like a story and a monologue. And I mean, is that podcasting? It definitely doesn't follow the radio style format of interviews and current events.
Ad breaks in the traditional sense.
Yeah, but again, it's on the platforms. It's accessible with podcasting. It can be considered a podcast in like length, how you listen to it. The season thing, that's something that I think that works too, because you see people that do have the nonfiction shows or the real life shows, the IRL shows, that do follow seasons, which is interesting because, that's a lot of people that do tours, a lot of people that will bring their podcast live. And that's another thing. People are doing live podcasts. Like, what is that? Is that now a show? Is that now like
that's what I consider it. I mean, I'm tossed up between being Trent Knox TV, being like the everything, and the Trent Knox show being a series of different things, like talking shop, talking head, talking whatever comes to mind, or whatever I decide to start, whether that's the individual thing, where I was going to say is solo podcasts are much more difficult, I feel like, because you have to like constantly come with the next thing, and I always start to realize I'm saying or whatever, trying to get to that next thing. Whereas with something like this, or even a bigger group setting, you know, you have an idea and you've got that idea in your head, and then as soon as I break, it's onto you.
Yeah, you chime in,
you
feed
boom.
off one another, you're back and forth. It's like ping pong.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And whereas when you're on the solo, it's like, you know.
I have the experience doing the solo podcast. I would probably say I have an equal amount of solo episodes and guest episodes. And that's where I struggled for sure. Doing solo episodes was difficult for me because, you know, I felt like I was rambling. I'd lose my train of thought. And that could be just me being unprepared or me not really fully grasping what's going on. But
I feel the same way.
At the same time, if you're going to stay active, like, you have to do that, and you see it really successfully done on YouTube. You do see that being probably more successful on YouTube and in the video format because you have the cuts, you have the graphics, you're able to kind of sit and follow along and at least see somebody. And if you're doing that, you know that, you know, hey, this is going to be in video format, so my expressions, my aneurysms, like YouTube, my mannerisms.
I feel like YouTube now, you don't expect raw content. You know, like raw, grimy. You expect highly edited videos when you go to
high
YouTube.
Production value for sure.
With podcasts, I don't feel that way. I feel like Joe Rogan goes straight to, you know, live. Obviously, Impulsive with Logan Paul is highly edited and whatnot, but it does have like a little bit of an edge to it. I'm kind of off of the Theo Vaughn podcast. It's just too. It's just
King and the Sting.
All of them. I don't like all of them. I have no interest in any of them, and I don't know why.
They're I
see it and I'm immediately like, I don't want to watch that.
I've been a fan of The Fighter and the Kid for a long time, and I might get some shit because I'm pretty active on the Fighter and the Kid Reddit subreddit, and it's a whole different story on that. But I was a fan of that because it blended my realms. It blended fighting, obviously. It blended, you know, pop culture, media. Crossed a lot of lines, and again, it's not going to translate in everything you do. And the King and the Sting, which is Theo Vaughn, the comedian, and then Brendan Schaub, who's from The Fighter and the Kid, they got together and now they do a podcast, and it's another animal. And to be honest, The Fighter and the Kid podcast is kind of, in my opinion, taken a weird turn because it's now more focused on being like that pop culture Breakfast Club style of radio show where they're talking about current events, and they're giving their opinions, and they're interviewing people, when it originally started out as more of it started off as more of, I think, an outlet for both of them. You know, I can't
commentary?
Speak. Kind of, you know, and they were including a lot of different elements, and they're comedians. I mean, Bryan Callen is. Brendan Schaub questionably is a comedian, and he had that special, and it did not do well. And now people are kind of giving him flack for it, and I even think
I haven't seen him in a long time.
I even think he realizes that it didn't do well, and he should probably take a little bit of a break and maybe sit back and reassess. And the only reason I'm discussing it, the only reason that I'm discussing it and bringing it up, fired. The only reason I'm discussing it is because I think that it's important to understand when people are trying to take advantage of something that they've been successful on, and I think that's what Brendan Schaub's doing. I think Brendan Schaub was successful with The Fighter and the Kid, and he found a niche, and he found people that would be there and they would support him. Yeah. And he has since kind of taken it and not really honed in on what it takes to continue that success. And now he's doing the King and the Sting, and he's going off on these other realms. And
in his defense, the platforms have been. Now we can go into the whole other subject matter, which is the platforms crashing, the discoverability, like nowhere.
Real quick to the same conversation with Brendan Schaub, though, he is a phenomenal podcaster.
Oh yeah,
and he knows how to get the podcasts out there and how to promote them and how to run that ship, and he does it very well. Yeah, and that's why they're successful as well, because his brains behind that is very, very good, and he understands the business behind it, and he understands what it takes. He has a great ethic in that regard. But again, it's not everyone's going to be successful, and to have someone that's able to cross over to 3 or 4 different podcasts and make them all work is really something else. Rogan just started doing his MMA podcast, and it considerably does a lot less than what his actual shows do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing that trend even with when he's having just the regular comedians on, you know, because he's had the Elon Musk interviews. He's had the setup for the Kanye interviews, even though they didn't do it. He's had the Charlemagne's. He's had the people that are on there that are noteworthy and that are kind of worth tuning in and listening to. But then he also has this Joey Diaz podcast where he's just shooting the shit and talking about getting stoned all the time, which is good to the fan. I love it. You know, I'll be on Rogan's balls till the day he dies, but it's, again, what are you playing with? Are you playing with this type of field? Are you playing with that field? And it's really hard to kind of have that success in that crossover. And what were you saying about the media shutting down?
Well, I'm saying, like, the platforms are, you know, Facebook was down.
Twitter was just down.
Twitter was just down. So was Reddit. At the same time that Twitter was down for a brief amount of time, Reddit was back up very quick.
And then they took shots at Twitter, which I thought was great.
Yep. And
or that was actually when Facebook and Instagram was down, was when Reddit was prime. People were going to Reddit like freaking out.
Yeah.
And then the memes came in and.
Well, it just goes to show you that they're not perfect platforms, and that discoverability is, like, it's really difficult. For instance, did you know that The Real World's now on Facebook?
I did not. I know Facebook's doing their shows. I know they had like
The Real World is now on Facebook. It's on Facebook Watch. Exclusive. But so, okay, this is not a plug, but a real plug is, Bryan, talk about what you're doing with the Bandanas.
I like that. I do a yearly festival called Hard Summer, which is thrown by Insomniac Events, which do EDC and some other pretty well-known events. And Hard Summer is their Southern California festival that they do. This year they're doing it August 2nd and 3rd, and they're going to have Kid Cudi, R.L. Grime, Alice in Wonderland, Soulja Boy if he gets out of jail, and a bunch of other really well-known artists and a bunch of DJs and dance musicians. And so I go every year. And I do a couple podcasts with my buddy JJ Custer. Shout out to Watermelon Jiggle on Instagram. So every year I do that, and this year I'm getting in with a little bit more exclusivity, and I was also able to secure a bandana sponsorship. So if you guys are into the music festival lifestyle, or even if you're just into looking pretty fly, I would recommend you to check out Block Bandanas. That's BLOCKK, Bandanas with a Z. You can go check them out. That's basically what they're primed to do. They are the music festival bandana. That's where you can find them at all the major music festivals. They've only been in the game for I think like a year, and they're already pretty well established. They've got phenomenal designs. The guy that runs it, his name's Joe Block. He does it all himself. Sits there, stitches, comes up with the designs, comes up with all the marketing towards it. He's got a really cool, interesting website too. It's got a bunch of great quotes from some famous artists and famous people. There's a Rogan quote on there. It's a really cool website to check out, and they've got I think like 5 or 6 designs up right now. They're constantly upgrading them. So we secured them as a sponsor, so we'll have a bunch of those with us at Hard Summer this year. And then if you're a fan of my show or a fan of Trent's show, you can go to blockbandanas.com and get 20% off any bandanas by using the code CHAOS, all capital letters, CHAOS. Again, you can go use the code CHAOS. Get 20% off your bandanas. And the bandanas, they're well priced. They're like $12 full price. If you do a couple of them, you get them at a discounted price already, and I'm pretty sure you can stack my code with it as well. So
that's sweet. How did you get that?
He reached out to me because of a jiu-jitsu thing.
Oh, nice.
And he was just like, hey, I've been following your page. Think you'd be a good representative to kind of take the bandanas and do your thing with them. And we kind of just went back and forth. I didn't really bite on that, but kind of dawned on me, hey, I'm going to a rave, and everybody wears bandanas at raves, so it'd be a good opportunity to mix the two. So I reached back out to him, and we set it up. Just official yesterday. I did my first episode with them being a sponsor yesterday, and that'll be up tonight.
Sweet. Speaking of jiu-jitsu, I created that MMA podcast community, which I would really like people who are in the MMA community to go out there, go and check it out. It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook group. And originally it started with Bryan and his homies a podcast that they were doing for a bit, and I was kind of repurposing content on the web. But I kind of want to create a place for people to share their podcasts around the mixed martial arts, or just whatever sort of fighting community you're in, and share it to that group. And so that, because I feel like it's really hard to discover new podcasts other than the larger ones like Joe or Fighter and the Kid. And
And see, what's cool is they have. I thought you were shutting your phone off.
I don't know.
Things going crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of a topic that can be pretty deep. But the MMA podcast is it's a weird market just because.
Well, I feel like that the same shit happens every single podcast. Joe or anybody is bigging up the same people. Where are the people with like contrary opinions? Like,
but see, that's where it's difficult because you have to. Going into MMA podcasting, you have to understand what you're talking about, and you do get a lot of couch coaches, and you get a lot of people to just sit back and give their opinion and their ideas on what they think is going on. But unless you're really entrenched in the sport or have an idea of what the sport's about, it's, people are going to smell bullshit. People are going to understand what you're talking about. And we had a podcast, me and my buddy Alex Assad. We both have MMA experience. We're both blue belts in jiu-jitsu. We both train together. We've been training for years. He's had several fights under his belt. We've both competed, and, we're both longtime fans of the sports. And I have I have some pretty decent connections in the MMA world. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us to do it. But at the same time, it's hard to compete when there's 100 different podcasts out there. And a lot of them, there are, but what happens is they don't last. You'll get somebody that does, you'll get a podcast that has really good graphics and really good content and really good breakdowns, but then maybe they're not consistent with it. Or you'll have a podcast where it's flashy and it's got, the high definition cameras and the good quality mics, but then they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And you're not in that area, you're not going to compete with the Rogans. You're not going to compete with MMA Hour, the Fighter and the Kid they touch on big fights now. If you want to really talk fights in that world, Brendan Schaub has a podcast called Below the Belt, and he basically discusses everything: boxing, MMA, kickboxing, glory. He goes down those rabbit holes. So does Rogan. You get the MMA Hour. You have the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, which is actually based out of here in Texas. He's been on it. He's done a bunch of stuff. I forget his name right off the top of my head, but there are some really good podcasts that are dedicated to MMA. And then there's a lot of podcasts that are dedicated to MMA that just don't have what it takes, because you can't compete with the ones that know what they're talking about. You can't. You're not going to get a better expert than a Rogan or a Luke Thomas, Ariel Helwani, Shel Sonnen, Michael Bisping, and that's what all the pros that are retiring and that do have the characters built up and do have those personalities, that's what they're transitioning to, because that's what they do. It's their life. And you can't compete with that. Right. You can't have a successful show with two dudes that don't know what they're doing, or what they're talking about.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, because people can be entertaining, and then they can choose a fighter that they're passionate about. Maybe it's a comedy thing, and maybe it's not the greatest fighter, but at least there's some sort of, point to the show. Whereas you're right, there are a lot of people who want to be the experts or the analysts of MMA, where that's not necessarily maybe their space. Maybe their space is they look at the guys who hit who was the guy that just got knocked out 5 seconds,
Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal. We can talk about that if you want.
They just look at, it depends what the podcast may be, but whoever's out there that does have that spunk or whatever, they need to make them, and I think it needs to be easier to find them. And I think if this community works out, this MMA podcast community, where people create podcasts or they just speak about the sport, because I think that it came and went. It hit the 5 second. Who was it again? I just blanked out again.
So yeah, it was at the most recent UFC 239. It was Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal. Mm-hmm. And Jorge Masvidal hit Ben Askren with a flying knee in 5 seconds, and the fight was over. Knocked Ben Askren out.
Do you think that anyone else will ever pass that record? That record is gonna take forever.
So let me clarify, and this is what I'm talking about, and people know what they're talking about. The official fastest record for UFC knockout was by a gentleman called Dwayne Bang Ludwig, who is the coach for TJ Dillashaw and a bunch of other fighters. He's coached at Team Alpha Male. He's well renowned within the MMA world and known for just being a coach that knows what he's talking about. He actually holds the fastest knockout prior to this Ben Askren fight at 4 seconds. It wasn't recognized as 4 seconds because the referee stopped the fight kind of late. He stopped it at, I believe, 5.5 seconds. Rogan campaigned for Ludwig to get the title for the fastest knockout because it really was. He was knocked out at the 4-second mark. It just took a second or two for the referee to come in and stop the fight, and that's when they called the official decision. Jorge Masvidal hit Ben Askren with the flying knee at like 3.5 seconds. So technically, Jorge Masvidal has the fastest knockout at like 3.5 seconds. However, it took a second and a half for the referee to come over and stop the pounding he was getting, which called the fight off. So if you want to get technical, fastest knockout belongs to Jorge Masvidal at 3.5 seconds. And to set it up for people that didn't see it, you can go to YouTube and watch it. It's all over the fucking place. The fight starts off with Jorge Masvidal running at Ben Askren. So unless a fight starts off with a gentleman running at his opponent or a female running at their opponents, it will be the fastest knockout until that happens. And I don't think that anybody can get, it was a sidestep and a sprint. And Ben Askren bent over to try to take him down and just got caught with a knee. It was literally the stars aligned.
Wrestler.
He's a fucking phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah.
Probably the best MMA wrestler in the world.
By instinct, he dropped his head.
Yep. Yeah,
So
and it wasn't even like a good level change. He bent over. He bent over because he was running at him, and he, instead of positioning himself for a solid like level change, a level change is what you do in wrestling, instead of setting himself up for that and then going for the shot, Jorge was running at him. He had no option but to try to take him down, which I'm sure he wasn't anticipating Jorge to jump at him. So it was the right move to do, but just the wrong time.
So from what I saw from pre-fight footage, he had been training to do that kick.
Yeah, the week leading up.
For forever.
He did the same thing.
And it looked the same
in
the video. It was
if
you could just like take that octagon and put it in, and you could have put a green screen in and put Ben Askren into that, and it looked exactly the same every single time.
His coach was holding a kick shield, which is like a 3 foot by 2.5 foot shield, up to his chest, and Jorge was practicing this, I guess, a couple weeks leading up to it, all up until the like day or two before the fight, or he probably left to go to Vegas the week of the fight, so he was practicing it up until that point. And it was. He also opened up a fight with Darren Till, which was the fight previous to the Ben Askren fight Jorge did. He opened that fight up with like this really weird like lunging kick. And Jorge's fucking 18-year pro. He was in Strikeforce for quite some time. He came over to the UFC and has been a phenomenal fighter. He's beaten Cowboy. Darren Till was his most recent win. It was a phenomenal victory. His name's Gamebred because he's just a fucking bad motherfucker. He was also on Rogan, and he had a phenomenal podcast with Rogan on the MMA show. He's a pro. He was practicing it. That also happened with Conor and Jose Aldo. Conor McGregor was practicing the left hand that he knocked Jose Aldo with in 14 seconds, knocked him out in 14 seconds. He was practicing that in the back prior to the fight. And that just goes to show that they know what they're fucking doing, man. They're professionals. Jorge Masvidal is a bad motherfucker, and you're not gonna intimidate him. There's a lot of shit talking going into the fight, and that's what made that knockout even sweeter, because Ben Askren was running his mouth, and Ben Askren is hands down the second best shit. Well, he's probably the first best shit talker in MMA, but he's like the second funniest shit talker, because Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor are probably tied for number one shit talking, but Jorge Masvidal wasn't having it, and he was telling Rogan, he was like, let this dude talk shit. I'm just gonna fuck him up, and he did in 5 seconds, beautifully. Not only did he hit him in the knee and knock him out, he then followed up with 2 ferocious punches to the face before the referee could intervene.
Yeah, that was nasty.
Yeah, it was. And then he mimicked him. And then he dropped on the floor like a board and rolled around like Ben Askren and mimicked him. It was fucking great. And I'm a fan of Ben Askren. And Ben Askren took it like a champ too. He didn't interview the following Monday, so he didn't interview less than 48 hours from when he got knocked out, and took it like a fucking champ. It was like, you know what, I fucked up, I lost, can't believe I lost, stupid mistake. Jorge Masvidal though, motherfucker.
What do you think about this? I don't know when this league is, how long it's been around, but the One League.
One is phenomenal.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah,
they're getting really good fights in that league now.
So to tie it together, Ben Askren was their champion. One is a Filipino organization. They have most of their events in Asia. They are coming over to the United States. They're building the market over here, but they have more viewers worldwide than any other MMA promotion. They're just not too heavy in the United States as of yet, but they did just get a TNT deal, or TNN, or one of those channels. They'll be on it. And you can also download their app for free. It's the One Championship app. You can download that and stream all their fights. I just watched one yesterday.
Really?
So check that out if you're an MMA fan. But yeah, they're really, really big in the Philippines. They actually have some former UFC fighters that are like high-level executives of them now. So, you know, they'll be around. But Ben Askren was their champion, and they traded Ben Askren from ONE to the UFC, and ONE championship got Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, which is probably up there for #1 fighter in the world of all time. Just phenomenal, like a 14-time, won 14 different title fights in the UFC, or 12 different title fights in the UFC. Finished most of his opponents. He was just fighting some questionable competition at times. But he has my vote being top 3 fighters of all time, for sure. And that was like a historical trade. The first time MMA actually ever had a trade where one organization was getting a top tier fighter for a top tier fighter of another organization. You know, they tried it in the past with some other organizations that it just didn't work, but I think that's the future of the sport. It's another conversation, but yeah. So ONE actually gave the UFC Ben Askren, and people were calling for that for years and years, and finally it happened, and he came in and fucked Robbie Lawler up, kind of, in his first fight. So he came over with a bunch of hype, won his first fight in the UFC, was talking a bunch of shit, and then hit the brick wall known as Jorge Masvidal.
So MMA.
What do you think about
changing.
ONE? Why did you bring that up? Because
man, those girl fights are nasty,
dude.
Girl fights in ONE are nasty.
Angela Lee's a badass.
Yeah,
she's their champ right now. I think she's the 125-pound champ or the 115-pound champ. She's only 20 years old. She is a fucking beast.
They must have like liquid for bones or something, because I mean they're getting torn up in all sorts of ways, and then you know, getting put in a triangle, getting out of the triangle, and then going and you know, what was the move she did? She did like a full body twist or something like that, and then had one leg locked, and then
twister.
She's the only one that's ever done it in MMA competition history or something like that.
Female MMA.
Female?
Yeah.
I thought it was
the Korean Zombie has one in the UFC. He has the first. He has the first official twister. If that's what she did, I'll have to go back and
I'm pretty sure it was a twister.
Yeah. She probably has the first one in ONE. Yeah, definitely. It's a hard move to hit. It's a jiu-jitsu move, and it's just you tie up, like for example, you tie up a left leg, and then you put the person's right arm behind your back, and you crank on their neck, and you're twisting them, and it's just a fucking mess. It's
a beautiful
move.
Nasty, dude.
Beautiful move. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think ONE is a direct competitor, especially from a branding standpoint with UFC. From a branding standpoint, I like ONE better.
They have a lot of examples to look to. They have the UFC and Bellator and the PFL. They have the bigger organizations. I don't even really know if PFL or Bellator are bigger, to be honest, but they have other organizations that have been successful to look at, and they're just following suit, and they're doing it the right way.
They use social media good.
They do. And it's not just mixed martial arts, it's also kickboxing. They do kickboxing and Muay Thai as well. So they're bringing variety, which is something you won't see in another organization.
But that's still inside of an octagon?
No, they do rings as well.
Oh, rings as well.
Yeah, actually, the UFC also sent over a fighter by the name of Sage Northcutt to ONE, and his first MMA fight was in a ring. I'm not too sure why they did it in a ring, but yeah, his first fight in ONE was done in a 4-roped ring.
Do you know anything about the women's soccer U.S.?
I mean, I followed it. And
enough.
Yeah, I know that they're also going through the pay discrepancy. Is that what we're talking about or no?
Sure. That's a part of it. I mean, for sure, that's something that I've heard a lot about. The other thing that I've heard a lot about is the way that they celebrated has been very controversial, I guess, or like the things that they're like, for instance, that's a part of it. Definitely that, you know, the women, there's like a pay discrepancy that they're contesting, but at the same point in time, the overall earnings of the men's FIFA versus the women's league was like $7 billion difference, and there was like articles out that a 12th grade boys soccer league beat the U.S. women's team right prior to them winning the World Cup. So it's like
I heard about that. I didn't really like dig in or do my research on it.
I don't know.
The match, so I don't know if that's true or not. Or the pay statistics. I just know that they had like a parade, and then they've also got a lawsuit versus the U.S. Soccer Committee or whatever that's called, U.S. Soccer Association. The women's team did file a lawsuit because of pay discrimination. I think pay discrimination is obviously a hot topic right now, so it makes sense that, you know, that would be an example that is being used. As far as the celebrations, what got me watching them was the girl that scored the goal on her birthday and then ran up and drank the tea. They were beating England, I believe. Mm-hmm. She fucking scored a goal and fucking went up and acted like she was having a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, it's sports. People showboat all the fucking time. Yeah. You know, NFL players dance in the infield. The celebrations, I mean, part of me is saying that people just are trying to find something to complain about. Mm-hmm. Other part of me is like, yeah, there should be a level of sportsmanship. And if you're going to go across the board and start, you know, there are penalties and fines, not penalties, but there are fines in the NFL. If you over celebrate, there are, you know, certain fines in basketball and in the MLB. If you're a little bit too charismatic in your point scoring, there are unsportsmanlike conduct and unsportsmanlike calls. You know, so I think that should be across the board.
Is there unsportsmanship, unsportsmanlike conduct that off the field? Because
all the time. You
know what I'm saying? Is there fines for off the field? Because one thing's drinking a cup, another thing is you know, claiming to be a woman when you were born a man, and then fighting for equal pay rights. You know, all of these things stack up.
Wait, is that like a specific example?
No, it's not. But I'm definitely like trying to put the highest cards, stack the cards the highest. So if let's say one of these women were born a man, and there's a real life example. Like a woman.
There's several real life examples of that right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there is
that are ridiculous. As far as like unsportsmanlike conduct outside of the like games or matches or what have you, I do believe that there is probably some sort of repercussions, some sort of penalties. Mm-hmm. Fighters lose sponsorships, athletes lose sponsorships constantly.
I think that's one-sided though. I think men will get pressed with those fines faster than the women will, because the way that women
her face, the soccer goalie, Hope, whatever her name is, her nudes came out, she lost sponsorships.
Oh, I guess.
She's got nudes of like a finger in her butthole.
That's stupid, right? I mean, that's stupid. That's not even close to McGregor throwing a chair through the window of a
losing
bus.
Sponsorships. Yeah, I mean, what's the likelihood?
But I mean, egregious acts. You know,
I would
life-altering things.
I would.
I guess nudes are life-altering at some point.
I would say that there's probably penalties equally divvied out. I just don't think you see female athletes doing as much as male athletes. I mean, male athletes. So is it not
like we all have to look at it and be like, ah?
I wouldn't.
This is so egregious. This woman.
I would start complaining if there was favoritism. If there was like, if you did have a ton of female athletes doing some.
There's automatic favoritism for women over men.
I mean, is that true?
Unless it's accurate? Like, maybe. Maybe for, you know, Floyd Mayweather, not so much. I think he does a lot of flamboyant, egregious things.
But Floyd Mayweather owns his own promotion. Like, Floyd Mayweather, the only people that are going to be pissed off at Floyd Mayweather are the people that are paying him, and there are not many people that are paying him because he owns all this shit. Mm-hmm. Floyd Mayweather is his own promoter. Mm-hmm. Mayweather, you know, that's why he fucking fights and makes millions of dollars, because he does his own promotion. You know, people have been stripped, people have been suspended, people have been definitely reprimanded for I think doing unnecessary acts outside of the realm of the sport itself. And I think that's important because, you know, you're role models to a degree. You have kids that, you know, dream of being an athlete because of who they see on TV, and they have kids. Same with actors and musicians and artists, and it's more of, I think, a human condition thing to like this type of discussion. But when you're in the light like that, and you're in front of so many different people, and you are under that microscope, or your life is under that microscope, there's a certain expectation and standard that comes with that, I think, and not everybody necessarily wants to be a role model. Mm-hmm. And I think that shines through in their acts. But understand that if you are, selling millions of dollars in concert tickets or records, and you are making money off of being commercially successful and people supporting you and paying into you, that there needs to be repercussions. And if you, it's just like getting fired for being late to a job. Like,
I think a lot of people
I don't want to be on time. Well, if you don't want to be on time, then understand that if you're not on time, you're going to get fired. Like, mm-hmm. plain and simple. Like, you want to live by your own rules, cool, but there should be repercussions in certain areas. I'm not saying you need to go out and start threatening people with losing sponsorships and losing, promotional money or whatever, but there's a standard, I think, that needs to be upheld. What that standard is, I don't know. I don't make the rules. With sports specifically, I think there does need to be an equal playing field in terms of how you're, if a woman in the WNBA goes out and causes a fucking fight at some nightclub as a gentleman from the NBA would, I expect the repercussions to be the same. I don't expect,
I think it's the origin of the fight. That's the biggest problem, is that if a woman goes into a nightclub and causes a fight, the origin of that fight is vastly different.
Same with men. I mean,
men go in and they fight over women or a spilled drink or some shit like that. Not like what women do.
Circumstantial to a degree, most definitely. But at the same time, what are the circumstances? I think that if you're taking like two blanket situations, and let's say there is a female soccer athlete and a female,
but we have
to.
I think that we have to. I think we have to.
There's other things at play. Instigation
from a macro level. We can't address things from a micro level. Say like, oh, this woman got into a fight because of this reason. It should be no fights are allowed. No talking bad about the league. No doing this. No doing that.
I mean, what about Richard Sherman? It was Richard Sherman, or was it Marshawn Lynch? Whoever was showing up, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Mm-hmm. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, that was his responses to the questions he was being asked during press conferences. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, okay,
is that? But there can you be fined for that?
Probably. He probably did. So. I think he did suffer some sort of like disciplinary action from that.
Also, but I kind of feel for the people who are against this whole concept, and maybe on the micro level, because you don't want to be enslaved to a bigger, larger system that's not changing. So if you executives in a league are deciding to stick with a certain game plan or a certain outdated and maybe fluff the numbers.
Look at Colin Kaepernick as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimately can't get a job.
Right.
And do you think
he could in a different league, but he's not going to get paid the amount of money.
What league is he going to go play for?
He could play for the CFL. He could play for arena football. He could play for a lot of different things.
Son, why?
Again,
why would he do that?
Again, why would someone quit the UFC and go fight for one? Because UFC is clearly not marketing the fighters or the athletes correctly. So it's the whole old man mentality versus the young man's mentality.
Right, I get that, but I guess I'm more looking at,
if he really wanted to make change, he'd make his own league, kind of like Floyd.
No, that's impossible. If you wanted to,
if the women wanted to really make change, they'd make their own island. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
But everything, I think, has to be within reason too. And like with the Colin Kaepernick situation, is he's blatantly being stiffed because of his views on certain things, not because of how he plays, not because of anything else other than the attention he would bring to a team and the complete outcry you would get from your people that just can't shut the fuck up about letting a dude play a sport and what he decides to do. I get it. I don't want to get into that argument, but he's being blackballed because of a opinion and what he chooses to stand.
He's not even that good of a quarterback.
He's not, but I mean, there are worse quarterbacks in the league playing. There are worse quarterbacks that are out there.
Rules.
Yes, exactly. And like, that's his conscious decision. Like, he chooses to.
Do you think he consciously? I don't think he consciously decided that. I think he wasn't aware of all the rules.
Oh, I don't think he was. I don't think he decided to.
Oh, I knew this was gonna happen to me.
I don't think he decided to kneel And knowing that he would lose everything, but he doubled down.
Somebody turned him the wrong direction. He gave him poor advice.
He doubled down, dude. He doubled down. And at this point, he's making fucking money as it is.
Yeah,
because
now he's the face. Government.
Now he's the face of something. Now he's the face of a movement, for better or worse. But he's...
Is this fair to compare gender to race? Because I don't know. I mean, they're equally oppressed. I think since this, like women gained the right in the 20s, African Americans in the 40s. So they're
not just blacks though. You got to look Asians. I mean, everybody's been oppressed essentially outside of the white man, unfortunately.
Which is like,
and that's something that.
Well, currently, I'd say that unless you're Asian, you're all being oppressed right now. Right now, Asians are the upper echelon of communities at this point in time. They own pretty much everything.
In certain scenarios, but they're also Asians that can't get into certain schools. Because
by and large, obviously.
Yeah. And there's... I mean, I was just listening to Eric Weinstein talk about how Asian women make up 25% of the world's population.
I think this is important. So Eric Weinstein is who?
Eric Weinstein is a mathematician and a professor. He's part of the IDW, Intellectual Dork Web, with Rogan and his brother
Brett Weinstein.
Brett from Washington State.
Eric is the financial advisor for Peter Thiel.
Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe.
Which is the co-founder of PayPal with Elon Musk.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
So when he speaks, it's incredibly important.
I think that both of them, Jordan Peterson, that whole little group is doing something. I don't know. I'll probably get some garbage for that.
Jordan Peterson doesn't have the rock star value I see in Eric after having seen Eric push past his initial perception.
Jordan Peterson's selling out arenas, son. Giving speeches in front of thousands of people.
I think that he doesn't reach the lower demographic. What I mean by Eric is willing to go and do what Jordan would not do. Because
maybe.
Jordan is a philosopher.
I mean, he's more than that, but yes,
Eric is a mathematician.
So I was talking about Jordan on my show last night, and that's how I described him. Because the episode was about management and just bettering yourself and figuring out that managing
like personal
yourself.
Management.
Yeah, both, but you can't have the management of others without being able to manage yourself.
Well, you would think that, but I think that a lot of people are
bosses. I break it down. Yeah, I go in. Difference between leadership, a boss, management. Mm-hmm. And I said that leadership's like a philosophy, and management is actions. And in order to be able to manage, you got to be able to set a goal, implement a tactic, be able to follow up on the tactic, consistency, all that. Where leadership is like you're leading by example. You're allowing your people to trust you. You trust your people. You're empowering people. Different situations. And I used Jordan Peterson as an example. And I said that he was more philosophical than anything, but he's so fundamentally philosophical as he helps you understand why people are the way they are and why you are the way you are. Mm-hmm. And he has his, 12-step book about how to be a better person and how to live a better life. And it's all really about, who you are first and how you interact with your immediate community and society and your tribe, and then how tribes and societies and cultures interact with one another and how that basically creates the world we're living in and how it can be fucked up at times, right? So I definitely described Jordan Peterson as a philosopher. I think that he's just so deep and so intellectual on like another level that a lot of shit that he says doesn't translate to like the standard normal person, you and I. And I did a report on a speech he gave about media and free speech in media and how the fighting against free speech is going to be the death of a lot of different things, because once you get rid of that idea, once you get rid of the right to have an idea and speak that idea, you're taking a lot of different rights away. Anyway, so back on track. I think the Weinsteins definitely have more of a they're more like friendly socially friendly, not socially friendly, but they're just friendlier to listen to in a sense. Like their messages come across a little bit more straightforward than like a Jordan Peterson would, because Jordan Peterson's going to give you 8 questions and you have to figure out the fucking answers to those 8 questions. A lot of them are going to have to deal with you and how you interact with people, and then his ideas and his messages start to come across and you're like, oh, okay, I get what he's saying. Now I get it. But he makes you dig a little bit before you get the answer, where Eric Weinstein, however you say his name, was very adamant about how, certain aspects of academia are
he talked about
horrible.
That, what you just said. He talked about how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, I know.
How do you pronounce Albert Einstein?
It's Einstein. Nobody said
Weinstein.
Weinstein. Yeah, you're right. He did say that because it was Weinstein or whatever, and it just yeah.
But no, I agree. I think it's easier to not understand, but easier to follow along. Something I was thinking about when you were talking about that, and something I think I spoke about. Maybe I put in our messages. The difference between visual perspective, the way you see things, the way you perceive that way, versus the emotional perception of things. I feel like you're hurting my feelings, or I feel like this situation isn't gonna go right.
Okay. I was gonna ask you what you meant by that, but
Jocko talked about it. Recently,
I mentioned him last night as well,
and he was talking about how his wife perceives things in an emotional way. I feel like it should be this way, but he sees it like the execution in his mind, like a dream, and then executes based on
very black and white, as opposed to like a deeper meaning behind it. I think that's a female thing. No, that's a female.
I don't think so. I think it's a left brain thing. I don't know. It's where do you primarily computate the world you live in? I know that when he said that, it put a light bulb in my head. I'm thinking like a lot of the times it depends how I feel.
Oh yeah.
How I'll perceive
how you react.
things.
Yeah, and how you react to things.
If I feel more like everything's just like kind of boring, I see it this way. If things are like, holy shit, that the world's collapsing, I feel like I better run. I feel like this is not gonna go a good way. But if I have the time, and it's boring, I'll see it a certain way. I have the ability to sacrifice time to perceive things at a better in a better way. So maybe like clairvoyancy or maybe premonitions or something is what it is. I don't know, but the difference of someone interacting with me and saying, I feel like he felt this way. No, I know this because I saw him speak like this, or he interacted like this, instead.
I agree with you for most of that.
I think that you do a lot of...
I'm a very emotional person. I'm a very emotional person.
You're a feel person.
I feel for sure. And I don't know if that's necessarily like an artistic thing, because I'm definitely like more artistic than I am... more than I am.
Well, you've said it before. You've said it before that you were raised by your mother. Most of the time, was your father around? I don't remember.
He was
that much.
He was around. So I didn't live with my dad full time until I was like 7, and then he was out probably like 13, 14. So yeah, I was with him for a portion, but no, I was definitely around my mom and my sister more than anything. I'm definitely an emotional person. I think that being around them, growing up around a lot of estrogen and being groomed by females, my grandma, and being spoiled, and when I say spoiled, I mean my grandparents. They both passed away by the time I was 5, but me and my mom lived with my grandparents and didn't really have to. They just let my mom work and go to school and do her thing while they took care of me because I was their fucking only grandkid at the time. And I grew up in I'm not going to say that it wasn't a bad life. I definitely didn't grow up in the best life. Definitely grew up struggling and had my moments where, things were tough, but I by no means had a hard life. And
what was like a real tough time?
Oh, I mean, being poor. Like me and my mom struggled constantly, especially when my dad left the second time. Like, cause then she had me and my sister, and he just up and left and spent all their money. and like fucking just left her high and dry. You know, she worked 2 jobs and then took on a full-time job and was never home. And
What, after you left?
After I left?
Oh, I'm sorry. I left who?
My dad. So like they got
And your
divorced
sister?
when I was like 13. Yeah. So like my sister was 6 and I was like
okay.
13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe 15, turning 15. You know, I started working when I was 15. I've worked like a goal of mine within the next year is to take a year off so I can finish school. And I've never not worked. I think I've gone like 6 months where I was on unemployment looking for jobs, like, but I've always worked since I was like 15. So for the last 15, 16 years, I've been working. And, you know, a good chunk of that was to help support my mom and my sister. And a good chunk of that was to, you know, then do my own thing and kind of experience those things. And to be able to, I'm definitely emotional, definitely during those times, what was difficult was how I was reacting to things, for sure. Because I was, you know.
And how were you reacting?
The world is out to get me. I'm fucking, you know, I was very closed off to people's ideas and very, you know,
Did you ever get into fights?
I wasn't getting into fights, no, but I was definitely, you know, I was partying and I was in a band. I didn't really fucking.
So that's where
I didn't
got an
have a
outlet in
direction.
the band?
I felt like the what I didn't have was direction. I didn't have a father figure or a coach or anybody to
I don't
sit
believe
there.
that has anything to do with it.
Do with what?
I don't think that you'd be any better. I know that I wouldn't be any better if there was a coach.
I believe
Because
people are.
the
It depends who's the
communication-
coach. Well, yeah, it depends on. Again, you can't.
If you had Jocko as your coach, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, not to tie it back to MMA, but, you know, they were just talking about that. How many great athletes there are, but they just don't get the break that they want because they don't have a good coach or good management. They don't have the proper people steering their ship because, you know, and I touched on this a little bit in my show. You can't, not everybody's the best self-manager. That's why artists have managers. That's why athletes have managers. That's why people have agents, because there are people out there that do things for them and keep them in check and hold them accountable and make sure that they're on their schedule because they're not good at it. You know, people need that management. Same thing as a kid. That's why there's so many issues within inner cities, is because the parents aren't around and the kids have no guidance, no instruction, nobody to rely on, to trust, to sit there and say, you know, you can do better and this is how you do better. Not just that you can do better and go out and figure it out on your own. And a lot of kids are left to do that. Mike Tyson's a great example of that. Mike Tyson grew up in a broken home and had nobody to sit there and love him until he found a coach that really took time to make him something special, make him something different. It came through fighting and it came through him being angry at the world, but he was able to trust someone and he was able to sit there and say, hey, this person cares for me and I now have love. I now have something to fight for. And he did. He went out there and was the baddest motherfucker on the planet for years. Nobody could fucking... Mike Tyson held the title of being literally the baddest dude on the fucking planet Earth. And all it took was someone to guide him in the right direction. He already had the physical the gifts. He was big. He was fucking strong. He was 14 and like 6'2" or whatever he fucking was, built like a fucking tank. He just needed somebody to groom him and guide him and show him the way, you know. And then to the opposite of that, they didn't even really show him the best way. They were fucking hypnotizing him and fucking putting him into fights and having him fight older dudes, and he was fucking people up. You know, that's why he fucking went crazy and fucking bit ears and did drugs and went to prison. Like, he was still in a way lost, but he was able to be successful in a realm of fighting and of boxing because he had proper guidance. Guidance is huge, man. Huge. Not everybody's good at it either. That's why it's
guidance or taking guidance?
Both. You have to be willing to listen too. That was probably one of my struggles, is nobody could tell me what to do. I didn't give a shit. As long as I could support myself and my family and make money, I felt like I was doing good. And it wasn't until later, it wasn't until like my mid-20s where I realized, man, I'm not doing good. I'm not doing anything I want to do. I'm not doing anything that I enjoy. I'm sitting and I'm working my ass off and I'm fucking fat and I'm fucking out of shape. And, you know, until I really started self-reflecting, I had no wherewithal about who I was or where I wanted to be in life and what I wanted in life. I didn't have any of that. Not to say I would have had that if my dad was around full time, but I felt like maybe if you know, and I do look back on when my dad,
if you had a strong
role model,
figure.
if I had a role model or someone to sit there and be able to say, hey, you know, you want something, work hard for it. You know, I got a good work ethic from my dad, but that's all I knew from my dad. My dad worked 2 jobs. I worked with him in the summer mowing lawns and fucking picking up trash and he was a janitor, so I helped him do that shit at his school that he worked at, helped him do valet. I worked hard because my dad worked hard, and I figured that that's how we were able to survive and live, was because I saw my dad work hard. But I didn't learn like the fundamental why you work hard. I didn't learn how to fucking be a good person or a good dad or a good, not that I'm a dad now, but a good husband, a fucking.
Was he working hard to get nowhere?
Oh, he's a gambling addict.
See, that's one of the things, like, you can have a great work ethic, but if you're going nowhere, what's that work ethic mean?
And I've tried to reach out to my dad several times, like, and he's and I'm not to put him on blast or anything. A goal of mine is to have him on the podcast someday in the fucking future.
Well,
sit him down.
You've got a strong
have that heart to heart with him.
You've got a strong Facebook last name now. The Cardone Kerns.
The Cardone
Kerns, Grant Cardone, and the other Kern that he's partnered with.
Who?
They're in charge of. They're like a huge marketing agency, Cardone Kern Marketing Agency.
Haven't even heard of them.
Yeah, man.
Dang, maybe I got some liberties coming to me.
Yeah, you got some liberties.
Maybe I got some royalties coming my way.
Yeah, man. You work hard, but at the same time, you can work hard, have a great work ethic, and I think people overemphasize work ethic. The reason why I say that is it's like the go-to thing for like a Gary Vee or anybody is like, you got to have a good work ethic. Well, if you've got a great work ethic and you're a drug dealer and, you're surrounded by, people who are people who indulge in the frivolous things in life and really get nowhere, then what the hell do you have a work ethic for? I mean, unless someone is out there to course correct you, and put you on somewhere. Then put you on a game that isn't solely a solopreneur game where because if you start to make drug dealing into a corporation, then you become a cartel, and then the whole U.S. government's after you for everything. So. You can have a great work ethic, but you need to have some sort of way of directing that to the greater good of a community. It doesn't necessarily have to be your family. It doesn't necessarily have to be the community you live in, but it has to be a community. And so I don't know. I do know. I don't know why I said I don't know. I do know that it's difficult to not be emotional about things like not being liked or not having 10,000 followers on Facebook, not being, accepted, get your job, not getting the job you wanted, not getting, not obtaining the goals in your life. Maybe for me, for instance, I'm struggling with not having a lot of on paper experience, not having any traditional job experience, going and, mowing lawns or shooting video for myself doesn't necessarily transition to credible job experience or whatnot. And then you do these little gigs and opportunities. A lot of people are in the gig economy. I think the gig economy is the largest workforce right now in America.
Yeah, with like Uber and Favor and all that stuff, just gigs.
And when no one has any money because Coca-Cola goes bankrupt or any of the large corporations go bankrupt and they can't afford to pay to have food delivered, whether T-Mobile, whoever, those people who have no real experience in a community-based job, working at a car dealership, blah, 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 whatever, sales, IT, customer support, sales, whatever, manufacturing, those hard jobs. I'm not saying your job is hard.
No.
But I'm just saying, you obviously deal with a lot of bullshit from, like, the corporate standpoint and shit like that, that I'm just in this place where I'm looking and trying to figure out how people are seeing things, how they're feeling about these things, and how can we all, like, start to make the place we live in an easier place to live in, because I feel like the United States is one of the hardest places to think about living in. No wonder, we have all these immigrants that want to come into the country, but they don't realize that our country is not a place where we're trying to make more not diversity, but more disconnection. And the more the immigrants come in and illegally, legally, you know, they don't want to call it illegally now. What is the word for it that they're calling it now? Undocumented. They come into the country undocumented, and then us as documented people don't know how to communicate with them. They start to not only take jobs, but they also take up space. And that space, then we're kind of trying to figure things out. We're all trying to figure out, okay, we see it as there's 1,000 people. For instance, Sebastian, one of our friends that we know.
Yeah, wasn't he supposed to be on an episode with us?
He's been... Somehow there's a miscommunication.
Stop fucking around, Seabass. Stop fucking around.
Listen.
I'm just kidding. I love you.
Yes, he doesn't always want to get on the podcast.
You're fucking around.
Or whatever. But he recently brought it to me. He's like, there's all these people in Austin. They're always just walking around. What do they do? All they do is walk around the town, and do they have jobs? What are they doing? You know what I mean? And you look at the gentrification of the East Side, and you just see things that are just continually year after year under construction. You know what I mean? And then you look at the West Side, and it's just these ridiculously expensive houses that are popping up like that. So why are we having this huge disconnect? It feels like the luxuries should be just evenly spread out throughout the city. The massive complexes that are being built are being held up by capitalism to house these undocumented people coming in. Yet they seem to be able to build the houses that it costs the same amount to build on the West Side in less than a year. So it's like, I feel a certain type of way about the way that the community, locally, globally, I feel negative about, the job experience. I feel anytime I go to a job interview, I immediately feel negative. I feel no positive. I don't think that there's anything that could be positive out of this. There's just going to be a bunch of drama. It's no one's really in control. There's not a CEO you can look up to that's actually doing something for the greater good of. There's always going to be this, at least in Austin, not necessarily all over the world. There's always going to be this negative, money hungry, not all the way Gary Vee type thing, or not Tony Robbins. Just like the people who are in charge of companies are not those people. The people who are in charge of the companies are the ones that are making sure that every single dollar they spend, they're getting 100 of those dollars back. And they're not just living the life like those guys. A lot of them are war chest type people. They got to get the accolades. So you have your war chest people like Jocko. Then you have your Gary Vee people, because Gary Vee is a very feeling type guy. How do you get in? Where's the in between super macho and also kind of macho, but still a lot? That's not good. Let's go completely other sides. Let's go Jocko and Jeffree Star. So opposite, complete opposites from a male, a male, for someone as a male to look up to. You can be a transvestite, or you can be a superhuman Idris Elba, Black Superman, or you can be a drag queen, or something like that. So
by the way, I'm a firm believer that they're going to make a Black Superman, and that's why he's got the Black Superman line in the new Fast and Furious movie.
Sure. Yeah. Why not? I mean, or Green
He's going to be Bond, right?
He's supposed to be James Bond. Yeah, he's supposed to be all these people, but
how does himself up for success either way? He's going to be all of them.
How does a young gentleman, that if they were looking up and they heard this podcast, how do they live in this society? Because you go on YouTube, you go on Twitch, you go on any of these websites, you just see them pushing this pride mentality, and you see almost no Jockos, no Supermans, no Lex Luthors, or any the Penguins, or any Jokers, or anything like that. You get and this is bad. I would call this side the Joker, the
Jeffree Star, the eccentric, yeah.
ruin a detriment of society, you know. But that's my.
So
I feel like
just want to watch the world burn, right?
Right.
That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot to unpack there. So let me. I took notes. So
well, you took a break, so I just started going.
No. And I this is always my fear. Is that is like what you just talked about. Is like discovering the United States. And I don't want people to get triggered by me saying that, but it's like discovering a new land and seeing that there's already an established thing. There's already something moving here, but you don't know anything about it, right? You don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And it's your job to make sense of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I almost think you can't. I almost think that you can't. Everything you just said right now and how there's one end of the spectrum over here, another end of the spectrum over here, emotional intelligence, perception, reaction. You can't unpack that all and make it a fucking dining room set because they're not all dining room pieces. Mm-hmm. There's pieces that go in the fucking living room. There's pieces that go in the garage. There's pieces that go over here. There's,
especially if you have a real, and this is probably really politically incorrect, a real female in the room. Because you might pull out the fancy china, but it's not time for the fancy china this time. It's time for the paper plates. Yep. Mm-hmm. You know,
mm-hmm. and we're not even done unpacking.
Or maybe not that china. We're supposed to have this china.
Right,
you know.
Right. Okay.
When I just think practicality.
What you're experiencing, and
a lot of people, I feel like.
Everybody, bro. My buddy, as we were talking, my buddy Andrew called me, and I had a podcast with him last year. Mm-hmm. He's actually visiting me at the end of the month. We're gonna do another one, and we're gonna talk a lot about that. Might need to get you in here for that. It might be a fucking trifecta, just because that's something a lot of people are experiencing, and when there's a loss, people are lost. They don't know how to feel when they're in these types of situations. They don't know if even feeling is the right thing that they need to do. Do they need to be more logical? Do they need to be more emotional? Do they need to be more, there's so much shit going on, man. And I honestly believe that that's coming from just the messages and the signals that we're absorbing on a constant basis. So I'm going to try to unpack what you just said. And
one more thing I need to add.
Yes, please do.
Preference, I think, is being demonized. So if you have a preference that, if you go into a situation and you don't think it's right, it's not like working, whatever the communication may be, just disconnect or something like that. There's something going wrong in the way that you're talking with someone. You're like, hey, dude, something's not going right here. I don't like it. It's making me not like you. So let's disconnect. I'm here paying customer. My money is coming to the situation. Don't push it. A lot of what I get from women, they call this either the snake oil salesman or the used car salesman person. And it doesn't matter where you are. It could be, it doesn't matter if you're independent business owner trying to sell some service or solution, or you're the guy at the Best Buy, or you're the guy who drives around in the Uber. It doesn't matter who you are. There's just continuous labels. Mm-hmm. And then my thing is that it's fine. Women want to label things, but at least be able to preference. Like if I have a preference, what if I say I like the snake oil sales guy more than I like the used car salesman guy? You know what I mean? Like you should be allowed to have a preference, but then the dictation is that people, male and female, are starting to say that you aren't allowed to have a preference. You color or religion. You can't blue eye, green eye, black hair, yellow hair. You're not allowed to go out there and say in interactions with other humans, tell them be like, I don't particularly like you, or I don't like you. I don't like that you like to burn churches. You're not allowed. You're just supposed to be okay with people burning churches. Anyway, I think that's the last thing. That's the whole enchilada.
I was just gonna say the whole fucking lada, man. Okay, so I think the issue with all of that, I think I can sum up all of that with having a I don't think people necessarily understand themselves.
Yep.
And when you don't have a full understanding of yourself, you're allowed to be influenced and swayed and persuaded, and it's a great example of that's politicians, people that are lobbyists, people that are in that realm. They're primarily driven with money and incentives. And if they were to really sit back, take the mushrooms, understand what their morals and ethics are on a deep, deep level, they may not be as easily influenced, if that makes sense, right? Now, not everybody is a Wall Street salesman. Not everybody is a fucking banker. Not everybody's a politician.
So are you saying
but
they don't have access
to
the right treatment for...
No. I use the mushrooms and the LSD as that's like a gateway to understanding yourself, right? People that trip and that have those experiences.
Those things without that
self-reflection, really understanding what you value in life, really understanding what's important to you, really understanding that you might die one day, and you're probably going to die before doing what you really want to do and accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And if you're okay with that, cool. But that I don't think you're doing yourself any service, not doing yourself any good by not asking yourself those types of tough questions and not asking yourself those types of hard-lined, what do I stand for? What's important to me? And I was talking about this the other day with one of my coworkers, and it was like a conversation that almost seemed like it could have been heated, but me and him we're not that type, and we're just having a conversation. But I had said, do you think Trump's really racist? Do you think that Trump really doesn't like those types of people, the Mexicans, whoever he doesn't like? Or do you think that he's playing the part because he knows he's going to get the votes and he's going to win? What do you think? He's going to be successful because he's saying something on television, and he knows that the people in the fucking Midwest are going to love that bullshit. He knows the people in Texas are going to love that fucking, go back to your country, all that bullshit. He knows he's going to get all those votes, and he knows he's going to get those people to like him. Do you think he means it? What do you think? I don't know. I don't know the guy. I don't know if he's really a racist or not. But I do know that he's about money. And I do know that he fucking is probably sourcing his plan and his goals towards what is going to make him successful and make money. I also think that he's not someone that's in tune with himself. He may think he is because he's successful. He may think he is because he has everything. But I guarantee you, if he was to do some acid, he'd fucking have a bad time. Probably. Maybe not. But, I don't think he knows what he is. I don't think he's a fucking businessman. And he's somebody that is successful at something. And that's what feeds his ego. His ego's big, And I think that goes for a lot of people, all the way down to fucking homeless people. It's a weird thing to look at, and that might be a little bit harder to dissect, but average people that are sitting at home clicking the hearts and sharing shit, all the same thing, man. They're influenced by things. Is it because they truly know themselves? If you truly know yourself, I don't think you're influenced that easy. That's a part of it. They talked about taking the likes away from Instagram, to stop having this weird...
Do you mean by know yourself what your purpose on the planet is?
I think your purpose on the planet is... I think you find that out once you truly know what you want and what you strive for.
So you have to know what you want to figure out
You have to know a lot of things. You have to know what you want. You have to know what you're willing to stand for. If someone's got a gun to your head, what are you willing to defend and not?
Do you think that... I don't necessarily think that's important.
I do. That's the whole thing behind the end of the world when the rapture comes and you're left.
Maybe on a macro level, but on a micro level, I don't think it matters what you stand for, because what I mean is like if you say you hate Mexicans to a Mexican, does it?
Why?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a logical Mexican would ask why.
Right.
An illogical Mexican might stab you in the throat.
Right.
But it really doesn't matter because you're still risking getting stabbed in the throat, so your opinion doesn't matter.
But what drove you to say that? Because there's a lot of people that hate Mexicans that won't say that to a Mexican. But if you're a devout white nationalist and you really are a fucking white nationalist, you would say that to a Mexican. But you're
but I'm
even
not,
the white nationalist.
Well, not necessarily. I don't. It's very possible that Trump is doing it for the memes.
Hey, I'm also not saying that everybody's good, because not everybody's good. There are people that do have hate in their heart and will sit and murder people because they think it's the right thing to do. Cartel members live for the money and the protection and whatever else it may be, and they think that they're doing themselves a justice because they're a warrior or they're some weird thing, right? But at least they have a hardline fucking...
I guess it's bad to just... I think it's bad to hate anything.
How many Nazis did it because they were... How many Nazis did it because they were forced to do it? You think fucking Hitler was fake Nazi? Hell no.
No, I was just watching a meme though.
Hitler
recently.
went to the fucking grave.
Are we the baddies? Or I can't.
Hitler went to the fucking grave.
Yeah.
Because of his belief. Right?
Maybe.
No, he absolutely did.
No,
he absolutely 100% did.
Conspiracy theory here.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Because there's the U.S. is not looking so good recently on the way that they're painting pictures. You know, we are not.
Okay, well, and that's another thing.
So, what is the Nazi thing painted the right way? Was there
the mixed messages?
Other things going on? Was this a specific tribe of Jews? Was this a specific, or was this blanketed? I just don't think the world's that black and white.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say too. You can't just, I think, have an either or. There's theory of infinite possibilities, my man. There's so many different things that are going on that cause so many different reactions. Mm-hmm. Think about a chemical reaction. You fucking have hydrogen atoms, oxygen atoms, you have water, right? H2O, okay? Mm-hmm. You have this person and this person in a room. It may be one scenario. You have two people in a room doing a podcast. You and me are pretty aligned, right? You and me fucking are able to sit down, have a conversation about the same shit and talk about the same things and at least bounce back and forth.
Yep.
You could have 10 different people come in here individually, one at a time, and we have the potential for 100 different types of podcasts, because that one person that comes in, there could be 10 different outcomes. Second person comes in, another 10 different outcomes. That's what we're dealing with life on a constant basis, bro. You get up, you fucking get in your car, pull out in front of somebody, boom, that chain reaction starts. You start going through your day. Do you carry that with you? The other day I was at Culinary Dropout with Becca's family because they were down here to visit, right? And I've been telling this story. This is how much it fucking shook my ego, bro. Listen, I fucking go to the bathroom. We're sitting outside. Yeah. I go to the bathroom. I'm wearing Hawaiian shorts, black shorts with palm trees over them. Those white palm tree shorts I have.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. A blue button-up polo shirt, like a collared shirt, right? Blue button-up with like white polka dots on it.
All right.
And a hat. Probably this hat.
And a hat. All right.
Go to the bathroom, wash my hands. I walk out of the bathroom, and this girl makes eye contact with me. I make eye contact back with her. Right. She kind of like head nods, and I like kind of look at her, and she does this whole thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go over and see what this bitch wants. I go over to her. She goes, "Can we get more dip?" And I go, "Oh, I don't work here," and I walked away. The look she gave me was as if I called her a cunt. As if I walked up and said, "No, cunt." That's how she looked at me. She gave me the most disgusted look, Trent. It still shakes me. I wanted to go back in there and go, "Bitch, why the fuck did you look at me like that's how mad I was, Trent. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I just went out and told everybody, and I was like, it was so weird. But I thought about it. It festered. It sat in my head for like hours. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still talking about it. That's how much it fucked with me, dude.
Dude, this happens to me all the time.
And I was just like, where did that come from? I don't work here, and you're the idiot that didn't realize that, and you're mad at me about it? What the fuck is that? Why couldn't you go, "Oh, I'm sorry," and laugh and giggle? Why did I get the fucking dirty look? Because you're confused. Or because you don't know what you're doing. Because you're not in touch with what the fuck's going on right now. Why did I get the brunt of that?
Okay, but hold on.
Go.
What did you perceive? Did you look outside of that isolated situation?
I looked exactly like our waiter.
No. So, you're not listening to me.
Go.
Did you perceive anything outside of that interaction? Did you notice that she was with a certain type of guy?
She's with a friend. She's with a friend.
Well, girl.
Yep. Could have been her mother. A little bit older than her.
How old do you think she was?
My age, 30s, early 30s, late 20s. She wasn't bad looking. She's a cute girl.
She was sitting at the bar?
Nope, at a table.
Okay, at a table.
Walked by her.
No one else with her?
I looked identical to our waiter. Our waiter had a white shirt or a blue shirt with white dots on it, just like I did. He was wearing jeans, had a notepad. But I mean, I had my hat on. I wasn't. My point was, this is how I perceived it. She didn't pay attention to who her waiter was. She saw someone that looked like him, me, flagged me over. I said, I'm sorry, I don't work here. And she reacted the way that she reacted. Why she reacted that way, I don't know. She could have been confused. She could have been drunk. She could have been upset, having a really bad day. She could have been 100% sure on a lineup. Yes, sir, that was my waiter. And offended by me telling her no. I don't know why she reacted that way.
Because she has privilege.
I reacted that way because I didn't understand where that fucking came from. And why are you going to... I reacted that way because
she doesn't normally get told no.
In a world without laws, in a world that's the wild fucking West, and I did call her a fucking cunt or some shit like that, or some weird outlandish bullshit, then I could expect that reaction. But the reaction that she gave me was unwarranted, and I was like, man, I don't know. I wanted to almost go, what's wrong?
In her
what happened?
Though, you called her a cunt.
Who pulled out in front of you this morning that all of a sudden just started this reaction to where you're a bitch now? Who upset you? Who? And why are you upset? You don't need to be upset about that. What happened? Did somebody die? Did something happen to your puppy?
Did you do that?
What did I do? What?
Did you take the time of your day to ask her?
No, I didn't.
See that?
And I'm not a good person.
Maybe it's your fault.
I know. Yeah, probably.
You didn't take.
Let me get you a waiter, man. Let me get you somebody. So you know what happened? I'm walking out. My waiter's walking in, and I go, dude, I think they're looking for you. And I just like pointed him in that direction. He's like, thanks. So maybe she cleared it up. I don't know. I wanted to go back in. I was kind of hoping that we were sitting inside and she could see me eating to understand. Oh, I wasn't your waiter.
Yeah, but even that's a weird ego thing. Fuck you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a weird. And my ego definitely fucking my ego. My ego was ready to choke people out, bro. I was like,
the catch-22 is that if you would have helped her out, then you're a white knight. Now you're somebody's savior. Now you're the bad guy because you did the right thing.
So where my family was waiting for me. Becca and her family were I was having a good dinner.
That's the thing is now
where is my concern?
Now you're inconveniencing your family.
I mean, it wasn't. No, they were out. We hadn't
even
got our food yet.
If you had spent time, you were now inconveniencing. Now it's 21 questions why you took time to be somebody's savior. If Jesus was born today,
that's one of the 1,000 outcomes that could have happened. Yes, that is one of the 100 different outcomes that could have happened from that situation.
I think our world is a lot more black and white than in these cases. When it comes to doing right or doing wrong, there's a very black and white situation.
You would think, but I think again the influence. There's a lot of different messages people are getting on a daily basis. Hour after hour after hour after hour after hour after hour.
Right.
People are stuck to their phones. People are stuck to their computers. People are stuck in this weird, fake, faux world. And they get those reactions. This is kind of tying it back to my point.
How do you do a podcast with 10 people?
They learn those reactions. They learn those reactions from what they see in movies. Mm-hmm. They learn those reactions from what they see on TV and from what they hear in Instagram stories and on posts and from comments. They go in and they read comments. They hear those things and they see those things. So instead of breathing and go, how do I want to react? Mm-hmm. Why am I reacting this way? Am I approaching it logically? Am I approaching it emotionally? There's nothing wrong with either or, too. I do believe that there's something okay with going, what? And fucking giving that look. And then reflecting and going, man,
so sorry.
Maybe I did react wrong. Maybe I did. Yeah. And then going, and hey, I did have a bad day. And I thought you were my waiter. Mm-hmm. I would have guessed 9 times out of 10 that you were my waiter. And I apologize. I shouldn't have reacted that way. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with her not explaining herself. Mm-hmm. I reacted a way that I probably shouldn't have.
But now you're left with a cliffhanger. Because you now want to know what fucked her day up.
You know why I think? Because I'm into doing this shit. I'm into talking to people and listening to people, and I hear people complain and
what do you think?
And talk shit all day at work and fucking complain about their lives, and I'm like a therapist at times, and that's why it bugged me. Man, what's fucking her up? Because she's a bitch. Why the fuck is she upset? I probably shouldn't have cared. And it still burns me. Whatever.
So you figured it out?
No.
Do you think you know what was wrong with her day?
No, I don't care. What I care about is that, hey,
you don't give a shit
in the wild. No, because what I do care about is going, hey, you do that to the wrong person,
they snap.
Oh, you're in a bad time, dude. You're in a fucking bad time. Mm-hmm. You're having a really bad time if you do that to the wrong person, or if you let some shit that is so inconvenient to your life carry over into another situation.
Has it ever been a bad time for you?
What do you mean?
Has it ever been that sort of situation where someone looked at you wrong, and then you kind of went off with and did something, and then that escalated to someone saying, like, just have you ever had one of those situations you're like, whoa, how the fuck did I get into this situation?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's taken me some time to probably figure them out, but yeah, no, there's been times I've got dudes yell at me. I've had people come up to me at fucking parties and fucking just be weird and like, whoa, dude, what happened? Whoa. Everybody pump the brakes, and that's what sucks too is you can't sit there and be like, shoot the flare off and go, all right, everybody stop.
Yeah.
What do we got going on here? Right? What happened right now? What did you say to him?
Because then you're isolating. You're the prima donna. You want all the attention in the party.
And that's not fun, dude. It's not fun. It's not fun. Everybody wants, world star. Everybody wants to pull their, you guys gonna fight? Oh shit! Instead of going, okay, hold up. My buddy Josh calls me this morning. Right? He was just the one down visiting me. He went to the festival with me. He got in a fight last night. He got in a fight because our friend, who has a known drinking problem, was a full-blown alcoholic, was out raging, right? Called Josh. Josh went and hung out with him. A couple of my other buddies were down there in San Diego hanging out. They're on their way to the car. My buddy's blackout drunk. My buddy Josh is trying to get him to his car. 3 dudes come over, start like fucking with my buddy who's fucking hammered. And Josh is like, yo, we gotta go. Guys, stop. Please stop. They took it a little too far. So Josh was like, cool. Drops one of them. Fucking grabs another one in like a chokehold. And that's what diffused the situation, right? Like he had to get out of there. He diffused the situation. But it's like, man, where did that escalate to? Same guy, Josh. Me and Josh are in San Diego for his bachelor party one year. Same situation. We're walking down the street and there's these drunk dudes getting into a cab. And one of the guys is like super drunk, and he sees me and he like walks up to me, right? And he like walks up to me, he's an Asian kid, walks up to me, fucking getting sexy, and he's like, what's up, baby? And like looks at me, and I'm like, what up, dude? And he's just like, and he's drunk, right? I can tell he's fucking hammered. His friends come over, they grab him, they're like, sorry, bro. And I'm like, dude, you guys are good. Like, I high-five one of them. I was like, you having a good time? What are you doing? We're here for a bachelor party. Cool. We had like a good 45-second interaction because we were there for a bachelor party. They were all a bunch of drunk dudes hanging out. We fucking, yeah, he's hammered though, right? He's fucking hammered. So they're like, sorry, bro. High five. They leave. We're like walking down the sidewalk doing our thing. The dude gets into the fucking cab, the drunk guy, right? And as he gets into the cab, he's like, fuck you, bro. And I'm like, and I flip him the bird. Don't even say anything to him. I flip him the bird. He pushes his friends off of him and charges me. He's drunk. Cool. But it was one of those situations where I thought shit was cool. You guys came over. His friends helped him. He came over.
No, man, you're the white man.
They were all white too. He was the one Asian dude out of a flock of white dudes, and might have been a black dude there. I don't know.
You're the white man.
Whatever, bro. My buddy Josh is Mexican.
You made him hit the. You knocked that
railroad
building.
Ran at me. Josh intervenes, checks him on the ground, like stops that, right? His buddies come over, like, bro, sorry. They pick him up. We're like, no, we're good. Like, there's like a second of like hostility for like 2 seconds. They got their friend in the van. We were cool. We left. But it takes just that, a weird trigger. And dude, there's 7 billion of us. You can't dictate what the fuck's gonna trigger what and who's gonna do what. And that's why these issues that are just so prevalent and that are in our face every single day, which also, dude, and another thing, okay, I don't support Trump. I'm not a fan of him. But I don't also get why there's like just this, there's like this villainizing of like, I don't know. I might have to articulate this a little better.
I was just thinking about.
There's just so much shit going on, and for you to be someone who's running a country, you're supposed to be an example, right? Mm-hmm. And you're saying things, and you're getting a rally behind you. That's cool, but it's also, you know, what he's doing isn't right. I don't think, because I do believe that a part of him is just going for the votes. I don't think that he's necessarily thinking fully everything he says through. He's just saying shit. He's getting the reaction. It's leading to higher numbers in the polls, raising more money. He's winning. That's all he cares about. Mm-hmm. There's something to be said for people that are now just that aren't the people that aren't trying to meet that with reason and with logic and paint that picture for people and say, hey, listen, this is why we can't have someone like this lead the country, because it causes dissension. It causes a lot of bad things to happen. And instead of taking these bad things and trying to unpack why they're bad and maybe teach people differently and set better examples, we're going to combat that extremism with like this other extremism, this right and left, like super far extremes, right? And it's not like there isn't anybody shooting the flare off going, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody stop. Everybody stop. Everybody relax. Take a breath. Here's a water. Here's a water. Here's a water. Here's a fucking joint. Everybody chill. What are we fighting about? What's important? Again, because when there's moral foundations to you and me were at a party and we see somebody beating the fuck out of somebody, right? We catch a little argument. Somebody slaps a girl. Can we be on the same page there? Someone slaps a girl. A guy slaps a chick and just starts beating the fuck out of her. She can't defend herself. I think it's safe to say we'd probably jump in and go like, bro, the fuck is going on? Get her out of here. Get him out of here. Stop. Right? I think that's something you and me can both agree on. Like, can we or no?
Wait. What you just said, the way that I heard it, maybe not the viewers, but the way that I heard it, yeah. You know, so as like we understand that this is just crazy between the both of them. We got getting these two crazy people, regardless of gender, out the fucking party. Like he may have did something.
Maybe
get them both.
But I use the girl example as she's likely weaker. Not saying that women are weak, but I am saying that maybe if it is a girl who's dating a rather large gentleman, and he happens to have an anger problem, and he strikes her, we should probably stop that. Probably get her to safety. If it is a relationship, it probably happens a lot. Get him out of here, and let's just try to solve the situation real quick for what we can. Obviously, we're not going to go home with them and try to solve their fucking marriage or whatever it is, but the time being, our fundamental core agreement is that this dude could kill this girl if he really wanted to. We're going to get her to safety. We're going to get this guy out of here. We're going to defuse the situation. When we don't have that, I don't know if you can ever get that on a large scale. You know, unless it's like war and everybody decides to be patriotic and let's fight and fucking the Mexicans, the blacks, the whites, the Asians, everybody that lives in the United States teams up and fights the other country. Maybe that's what will cause it. But we have so many people here and we have so many different ideas and so much different influence coming from all different directions. I don't know if you're ever going to get answers to half of these fucking things. I really don't.
Well, also when I think about your situation that you just brought up, your hypothetical, I think what if dude's just chilling, you know, he's in the corner, he's sipping on a bottle, he's got a girl with him, all of a sudden another girl comes into the party and is like, you motherfucker, you know, you're cheating on me, blah, blah, just cat claws out, ready to fuck somebody up. I'm not going near that shit. I'm going to be like, well, too bad for that dude, because that dude's about to get you.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and that's also, yeah, and the reason I was so specific.
A man whooping a girl's ass? Sure, you know, because guys are gonna hit you once, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh shit," you know, this is like gonna be a high consequence. Yeah, women, their red is way different. They'll hit you past.
I mean, but there's nothing I don't think wrong with going, yo, what are you doing?
Whoa! Let me go over here.
grabbing, and being like, yo, you can't do that. You can't just come in and hit people.
No, you can't.
You can't do that. And can we agree on that? You can't just come and hit people.
Put a girl in a headlock.
Not a headlock, but
you can't touch him as soon as that happens.
Oh, you can. You definitely.
Nope.
Yeah, you definitely can.
I've been there, and then it's like I did it at the bad guy. You didn't let her do what she needed to do, brother. You didn't do it.
You're spiking hard.
You know what I mean?
So can I give you a personal experience? So at that festival,
I can't do the gay thing that good.
At the festival, we
listen right here.
So we just went to that festival, right?
Yeah.
Becca and her friend Jamie, the co-host of their podcast, they went.
Yeah.
Let me paint this picture for you. Let me ask you what you would have done, and I'll tell you what I did after the fact. So it's a metal show, right? It was the Disrupt Festival. There was Memphis Mayfire, The Used, Thrice, a bunch of great bands playing. It was here in Austin. We went, had a good old time. My sister, me, my friend Josh, Becca, her friend. There was a mosh pit, obviously, because it's a metal show. And Becca's friend likes to mosh. The way that she was moshing was being a little aggressive. Okay, she was drunk. Cool. Wasn't mad at her. It's a mosh pit. People can expect certain things, right? You should expect to maybe run into that. The environment. This other girl in the mosh pit had a couple times pulled Jamie off to the side and was like, hey, you're a little crazy when it doesn't need to be crazy. And like, I noticed it. And I can recognize that from years and years of experiencing this. Okay. Jamie's going a little rough. This girl's also a fucking madness rough. Like, she was going hard, and you'll get the end of the story here. But there was a point in time where it was happening, and Jamie was doing her thing, and this other girl started to intervene, and they got in each other's faces. You being there with one of them, what would you have done? And you have a friend with me. You have me with you. Me and you were there, and we're watching it. What do you do? Because that's what I had. I had Josh. And Becca, but Becca and my sister were doing their own thing. They weren't moshing. They were up at the front. Jamie was moshing by herself with me and Josh. Me and Josh were there as well.
I don't know what I would have done. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't because I could have been like world star, or I could have been like logically. I don't get myself involved in those situations. Okay. So.
Well, I mean, by association, I kind of had to. I was my friends in there. Yeah. So what I did is I saw it, recognized it. They were pointing at each other's fingers, both drunk. Me and Josh instinctively go grab each, separate them. I was like, "Yo, Jamie, you got to come over here." Josh went and grabbed her. We had talked to the girl a couple times. Jamie and her had talked in line when the show very first started and like exchanged signs, astrological signs, to give you an idea of this. But then we're both so drunk, didn't realize what was going on. So we separate them. I got yelled at by Jamie for not letting her fuck this girl up. The other girl just went on a rampage and ended up eating shit and like losing a tooth and busting her lip up because she face planted. They were cool the rest of the show. Instead of having both of them I saw the potential. I saw the potential for a fight. I saw the potential for either of them to get fucked up. Both of them to get fucked up. I saw the potential for them to get kicked out, which ruins my girlfriend's time, which ruins my time, which ruins everybody that I'm with's time. I saw that. So I decided that I'm going to separate. Josh probably saw the same thing. He decided to separate. I got yelled at. Yeah, I got the shit from Jamie because she was like, "You didn't let me fuck him up. You thought that girl could have fucked me up. I'd have fucked her up. I trained, blah, blah, blah." I got the earful, dude. I still get the earful. She still gives me shit for it. But my defense is like, listen, I didn't want to fucking leave the show. I was having a good time. You were affecting my time at this point because you came there with me. And if you got kicked out, I wasn't going to be that asshole that fucking my girlfriend's got to go protect you and go fucking get you so she's not having a good time. I'm not going to be, I don't want to have to deal with all that nonsense. So I'm making the decision to do the separation here. Logically, I don't want either of you guys to get hurt. We spend money to be here at this show. We're having a good time. Everybody's enjoying the shit. You guys are getting a little out of hand, a little drunk. Alcohol is mixed. I get it. But we're here to have a fucking good time. If I can diffuse the situation, I'm going to diffuse the situation. I'm going to handle it the best that I can. Josh had the same idea. That's what we did. They separated the rest of the time. Everybody had a great fucking time. Point of that is it had an opportunity to get crazy, right? You can't, there's never going to be a, this is the situation. I'm going to do this and it's going to go this way. No. This is the situation. This is what I'm going to do under the understanding that it could go one of these ways. I could have gotten fucking caught in the crossfires and taken hits to the face. They could have started fighting and I couldn't get there quick enough. They could have both gotten to the ground and people could have jumped in and it could have been a fucking riot. Who knows? But you got to try to react and be quick. I went in there with hey, I don't want to fucking have a bad time. This is what I think is going to help. I don't think you can try to predict actions and responses and situational outcomes in the hope that it's going to go the way that you can predict it. You can only go off your instinct and what you think is going to happen and what you think is right. And those decisions are going to be made off what you fundamentally believe in. If you're at a club and you see somebody getting beat up, even if it's a guy, two guys fighting, and you know that one of them's got a weapon, or you know that one of them has the potential to have a weapon. There's also situations where you don't get involved. My buddy Alex was out on 6th Street the other day and he saw somebody get shot. You don't want to ever be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and those things do happen, but you make decisions and you react to things probably emotionally based off of what you're being influenced by and what you're being fed and what is around you and what you know. Your logic comes into place when you experience things and you make that educated guess or that educated reasoning. You sit back and you go, okay, this is what I think can happen. I know what the repercussions, if you're an athlete and you go out and you do something crazy, right? I know what my repercussions could be. I know what could come out of this. Are we getting that from people that are running countries and running political parties and having people taking what they're saying at face value and running with it and being extreme with it? Probably not. Would you be saying those things if you knew that that was a potential? Yeah. I don't think a lot of people would. I think if people
as a leader, you have to say the unpopular thing. Hopefully course corrects. Hopefully.
Yeah, imagine if Trump did come out and go, "Hey, I've said some shitty things."
What if he said the other things? What if he's What if he came out and he said, transvestite is the only way that you're supposed to be. You have to be an illegal to be in America. What if he said the complete opposite thing that was going on?
Again,
Then you would just.
I don't think any of those.
What the fuck? Where do we live? What kind? We're all in chaos. This is complete chaos. There's no order. There's no order.
You know why I fucking do it, man. Now you know why I fucking try to have these conversations. And
I feel like we're in actual order with what we have, because at least we're working on an old system. You know, we're the operating system we're functioning on may be old, but at least we're operating. Once this is out, what are we gonna do? We're not gonna re-elect a Republican. I can't. After he's done 8 years, which there's no electable candidate other than him. I mean, Elizabeth Warren, maybe.
Oh God, no,
maybe.
Son. Come on.
Nobody's electing pedo Joe Biden. You know, nobody's electing.
Hey, there are a lot of people that aren't picking up on that, and I'm like, yo, dude, this dude's a creep. This dude is a fucking creep.
Yeah,
he is. So...
I feel like a lot of people will overlook the whole pedo thing.
Bro, dude. look at the Catholic Church. Literally, almost all, like, and I say literally in the literal sense. I know so many people that went through that being in churches. So many people personally that experienced that.
I didn't have that problem, man.
In churches.
I went to church. I didn't know nothing, no problem.
It's because you're ugly as shit, Trent.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Just kidding. No, bro, but it's. I mean, look at that. Okay, you're supposed to be righteous and religious, and you're supposed to go to heaven when you die because you're a fucking priest and you know God. Yet you're fucking touching kids. Where is that moral value? What does that stem from? Influence? Oh, it's been in the church for years? You're a greasy ass old man and you want to touch little boys because why?
Yeah, why is it homosexual?
It's not always homosexual. I know a couple women.
A couple women.
You know, but I mean, but that's a good point too. Where's the moral in that? Where's someone going? Do I really like touching boys? Mm-hmm. Or am I influenced? And this is the norm, and this is what I grew up around, and this is what I've been taught, and what's been ingrained in my indoctrined in me, and this is what I'm going to continue to do, rather than sitting back and going, do I like that? Am I about that?
Yeah.
You know, religious as well. People that grow up in religious environments and have this blind faith, this faith without questioning it, this faith without, not to say that religion is bad, not to say that nothing exists. But to sit there and go blindly, this is why I'm reacting this way. This is why I hold these beliefs. Really?
But maybe
gun to your head, you're not going to bitch out. Gun to your head, you're not going to be a pussy right now and say some shit that you wouldn't have said an hour ago. Mm-hmm. Gun to your head. That's what you believe in. Cool. I'm pulling the trigger. Got one more chance to say no. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't think many people are going to stick to a lot of things. You know, I don't think a lot of people are going to stick to that.
I know that my perspective has changed.
With
over the year. Within a year.
Of what? Perspective of what?
I think my perspective on the way people communicate, and if you got to give a lot of people time.
Communication's tough though, man. Communication's
because you think someone is their intentions are black and white when they're more of like they don't know what's going on just as much as you do. So they're just saying they might have said wild things or
gone from a world where you can misspell a bunch of words on a screen and send it to someone and expect them to understand exactly how you feel and exactly what you mean and exactly where you're coming from. Messages don't get conveyed properly over text or over fucking instant messaging.
There's control over the message.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, it depends what network you're on. I mean,
depends what color.
The worst.
It depends what color the fucking block is, right? The iPhone block. If you're not blue, you're not you. If you're not
blue, you're a catfish.
If you're not blue, you're not you.
If you're not blue, you're not you. That's crazy. But I think that if there's a presidential candidate that can garner enough, you know, funding to unseat the sitting president, Donald.
Hey, I can Trump, tell you, I listened to the podcast.
It would be Biden.
He's
the only one who could get probably the enough campaign money to even run ads on television.
I do try to, and that's campaign funding is a problem. Campaign funding is wrong. If you don't think that campaign funding should be a thing that a president is allowed to, or that nominees are allowed to take advantage of, because that's what they're doing, they're taking advantage of it, then I suggest you look into Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii. She's a congresswoman that's also running for president and is not taking any corporate money. Repeat, not taking any corporate money.
Bullshit.
No, she's not. Absolutely not. 100%.
Joe Rogan is a corporation.
They're not giving her any money.
I bet you she's taking money.
He's promoting her. I mean, again, I don't know the books. I don't have the books, but I am
he
not
fly
going to
her
be
out? Did he?
No, she was on a campaign.
Hotel?
She was on a California. She was on a campaign. She was there for several different discussions.
Is she taking?
Same with Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang was in LA.
I don't give it.
But see, and that's another thing too. When is there warranted skepticism, right? Yeah. And I think everybody should have a little bit of skepticism is not bad. I think everybody should turn on those skeptical hippo eyes every now and then and go, am I really getting... But they do it at the wrong times. They do it at the wrong times. Why don't people sit back and go, where are you getting all this money from? Mr. Such and Such running for president, where are you getting all these funds? Why is it that people can raise millions of dollars within X amount of hours for this campaign, yet we can't raise millions of dollars to fix the shit that's going on in cities? Why can't we do that? Why isn't anybody questioning those things? Why isn't there any skepticism towards those types of things? Why isn't there any type of skeptical approach to, hey, maybe we don't need to fucking just have red versus blue. Maybe we do need to have a little bit of leniency in what we're doing here. Maybe we don't need two people that can raise the most money be the ones that run the country. What the fuck does that show? What does that show? Why are we still doing debates where they're 2-minute answers? Why can't we actually sit down with everybody and go, hey, what do you really believe? What do you want to do for the country? Give me your 5-hour explanation of what you think is wrong and what your plans are to fix it, rather than just having 3 sentences that sound good and let's get them out of the country and I'm going to drain the swamp and fucking, blah, blah, blah. Like, bullshit.
Because corporations want to get involved. And you can't have a 5-hour conversation without having a 5-hour energy commercial.
You could just... I like what you did there. You could just systemically, it's not a thing that's happening, so it's not going to change unless people actually try to change
Bernie's been streaming every single campaign speech that he's been doing on Twitch. I think YouTube as well, maybe.
Okay, cool.
But streaming on the line. I mean, that's just trying to... What that is marketing. And it just so happens that in those markets, they don't have a whole lot of advertisement.
I try to be as into the politic landscape as I can, as I allow myself to be. Right. I definitely think it's important for everybody too, especially if you care about how the country's turning out. So get involved.
I like to vote. It's fun to vote. For me, I like to see. I've not lost. I've always bet on the right person. They've always won. So it's kind of like not always on the local level. It's stupid. That doesn't. Money
in
so
politics.
Stupid.
It's just money in
local
pockets
vote,
and
local vote is retarded. On a grand scale, you can vote, and I feel like you can bet on the right person. You know what I mean? You can know who's gonna win. Mm-hmm. So but whenever you're talking about local, it's like the people around you they're checking boxes. Like if it's not Donald Trump, they're not looking at the candidates at the bottom.
You think people get fed a bunch of nonsense and it influences what they're going to eat and what they're going to watch? Definitely influences who they're going to vote for. And they probably put equally as much work into it, which I mean, they go through, they read a headline, they click a photo, and that's who they're voting for. They go through, they heart a page, and I can agree with that, without knowing what anybody is really about, without knowing anybody's true character, and they vote on that. They fucking choose what they're putting into their body. They choose who they're going to fuck. They choose what they're going to listen to and watch.
Well, I definitely think that maybe they don't choose. I think maybe it's like, I'd love to choose. That's my whole thing is like, I wish I had the option to have a preference, because then it's choice. Choice is a real thing. If you're allowed to have a preference, then you can have choice.
So
I don't think you have preference.
Yeah, you brought that up. With that, I think that's... to me, preference is...
do you like Becca? Was that your preference? Like, do you get to like... What do you get to like? Do you like your dog? Do you like... What do you get to like? Do you like the movies you watch? Do you like...
I'm me, so I'm going to say what I truly do believe that I'm...
Or was Becca something that got put into your timeline? And then... you know, because.
I mean, in order to meet someone, they kind of have to be put in your not like your Facebook timeline, but like.
No, but I mean your Facebook timeline.
No, I didn't. No, I met her through a wedding.
But by any chance.
I mean, I remember adding her on Facebook and Instagram after meeting her. She was there when I created my Instagram because we went to Vegas.
Did your relationship turn into an intimate relationship post?
Yeah, post meeting. Yeah,
post Instagram, Facebook.
So we met at our friends got married, and that's how we met.
Did you guys ever send emails to each other?
No, I hadn't talked to her before I met her. I just knew of her because they told me who was going to be at the thing, and she was there. We met.
Yeah.
We then went to like the bridal party in Vegas. I created the Instagram there. She was in my first Instagram post. We just talked about this the other day. So they convinced me to my friends because we all
origin story.
Yeah, they all. Well, I mean, just quick. But you're asking how we got introduced. So in the timelines, if we're talking virtual timelines, I added her on Facebook after I met her the first time. Never talked. I've like followed. Just she came through my feeds. Literally never talked to her. Went to Vegas for the bridal party. She was there while I created the Instagram. We never talked about anything. We just went as friends. There was no infatuation. Just because I don't think that she was in a relationship at that time, and I was like knew that she was in a relationship. So to me, that's just unless it's like instigated on. I'm not one to be sleazy and try to steal somebody from anything.
Yeah.
So unless it's like instigated, then I might respond. But to me, she was in a relationship, wasn't giving me any signals or any signs. So I was like, cool, never really thought anything of it. As we all drove up as a group, they were like, oh, you need to create Instagram. So took an Instagram photo of us walking down the street.
Yeah.
And then the night of the wedding, so that's how kind of it started. But it was a long process prior to that. And like, yeah, she's cute and attractive, and I thought she was funny. But I kind of had like blinders on. I never thought that anything was going to come of it because, again, she's in a relationship, and it wasn't like I wasn't shooting for it. I wasn't going for it as far as preference. I mean, I'm not picky. I'm not one that's, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily have a type. I'm very on like, what can I get out of you? We talked. I remember one thing that I really, really liked about her is when we first started talking, we would talk for like hours on the phone. Hours, because she lived a couple hours away. She was like an hour away. Yeah. So that's how we communicated, just hours on the phone. Phone calls every night.
Yep.
And that's what got me. I was like, cool, this chick's fucking awesome, man. She's learned a lot of the same stuff, and that's what kind of attached me to that. As far as preference, I'm not...
Physically.
I wasn't really looking for anything...
Physically?
What my preference is physically?
Yeah, not like the visual.
I mean, yeah, I definitely thought she was hot. Yeah, I thought she was cute, for sure. Right. Yeah. But I mean... I think a lot of chicks are hot. Like, a lot of women. I don't have like a particular like, oh, I don't like that. If you got, I like a lot, bro. I'm not very picky. I'll say that. I have a very wide preference. I'm not too picky. I thought she was cute. Absolutely, I thought she was way cute. I definitely I'm not into like over the top fucking eyelashes and like makeup. Like she'll put some extra makeup on sometimes, and I'm just like, they ain't going hard, huh? Like I'm not one for that. That's a preference, I guess. I'm not too
definitely
into the doing it up, and she's very beautifully naturally beautiful. And I'm just like, hey, like wear well, be proud of that. That's what I like. I like that you're able to, you have just this nice fucking beautiful look, and you don't need to. Why? You don't need it. Girls need it. You don't. I've never been into that, so I guess that's a preference. I like to think I'm very honest too. I like to think that I'm very in terms of what I like and what I don't like, I'm honest. Me and her, one of the foundations of our relationship is being open, man. We talk a lot about what we like and what we don't like, and we've had some of those, I guess, tough conversations where maybe I do like something and she doesn't, and she likes something and I don't. But if you love somebody, and if your moral and your ethical foundation of the relationship is to love somebody for who they are and love somebody for what they are and what they enjoy, then you're going to sacrifice. You're going to make those moves that are going to let them know that you care, because morally, fundamentally, that's what you believe in. And I believe that, that, again, what we're talking about, I think can span several different aspects of life. How you run a business, how you run a country, how you build relationships with friends, family.
Do you think she's your soulmate?
I love her. I'm...
But, like, legitimately.
I do. Yeah.
So then it wasn't your choice.
I mean, I'm not...
By definition, right?
I mean, of a soulmate, if you're asking, like, if the universe or some type of, like, weird thing brought us together.
Astrologicals, your everything.
Oh, she'll fucking say absolutely. Yeah. Oh, well, no. Okay, so.
Okay.
She's
so
into,
this realistically.
She's into the astrology thing, and I don't think our signs really, like, match up. And she's
but
into
like
it.
Because your moon was here.
Yeah. I don't know.
The suns and the stars.
I don't fucking. That's what she's into.
You know, and then you guys were in the same Neptune or something.
I'll give her a little plug, a little shout out. So she and Jamie, the one that got into the altercation at the festival, have a podcast called Tired Girls Club, and they
talk about stars and shit.
Bro, that's all they do.
What?
Yeah, she'll get you if she's here. She'll get your fucking signs and figure out all your bullshit. She's fucking. Wow. And what they do is they draw a tarot card at the beginning of every episode, and they talk about it. Yeah, dude, they're fucking crazy. It's great, dude. It's great, dude. It's great. It's great. Yeah. And that's what's getting me fucking motivated to start doing shit, because they're blowing up, dude. They're doing their thing. It's called Tired Girls Club podcast. You can check them out on Instagram, Tired Girls Club. Give them a plug. They're like 4 or 5 episodes in. My sister was their first guest.
Trading card games.
No, it's just tarot cards. They come in with a theme, but then they pull a card. They discuss what the card means to them. They read the characteristics of the card, and then they kind of riff off of that.
All right.
It's very cool. Check it out. I enjoy it. So they're putting in a lot of work. They deserve it.
So it wasn't particularly your choice. It was soulmate. So
I mean, I don't follow that thing. I think that if you truly do love somebody, if you truly do care for them, if I can explain why I feel the way I feel about her, what that comes from, I don't know. It could come from how I grew up and what kind of person I am and what I look for in a person and how I feel when I'm around a person.
Yeah.
She does that for me. If that's predetermined in some weird astrological way, then I guess, yeah, she's my soulmate.
You know what's weird, though?
Not paying attention to that. This
is kind of along the same lines, but a little different, is that when you go into the city, people are offended when you're doing something that's not happening on their social media. What I mean by that is, like, if you distract someone from them looking at their phone and life going on, because their lives exist on the phone. It's like the situation that happened with you, where she confused you as her waiter. It was probably because life was happening for her on her phone, scrolling through her timeline, looking for new Instagrams, swiping on Tinder, something like that. And she was frustrated.
Maybe she got too many swipes. Maybe she got too little swipes.
Might happen. But it seems like that. When you go out to the country or the outside, it's like life online is as boring as life out in the country. Because who the fuck are you going to hang out with? You're not hanging out with anybody online. Maybe you're on the phone or something like that. You're on a voice chat. But online, those people aren't physically in your life. And if you're by yourself out in the country, there's not very many people out there, it's the same feeling, you know? Disconnection from a community or whatnot. So whenever people are like trying to figure out the right place or where they should be, is like, I can't tell someone to get off social media, because maybe that's where your life is, or tell someone to go live in the country when you know, what are you gonna do, stare at cows or look at chickens or something like that, you know? I mean, unless that's something that you're passionate about or whatnot. If you feel comfort in the solace of being alone or
solitude.
You know, for instance,
I mean, but I think a lot of people do find comfort in social media.
About you in this sense.
Why?
Is that like you're in the mix right now? You're close to the city and whatnot. Like, if you wanted to go out tonight, you could, but you choose to do the more low key stuff. You know, you like to. If you're going anywhere, it's going to be a festival. You're not the type to go to
every night.
Every single night. Bah, you know, yeehaw, woohoos. You know, like, you're not doing that. But at the same time, you know, you have Becca, who's my age, and you both are the same. You both kind of like to just do certain things. Like
25, 26.
I'm 25.
Yeah,
she's a little older.
She's 26. Yeah, just turned 26. Man,
But were you that type of person that when you were 18, 19, 20, 21 that would go out there and really do that? Or have you always been the kind of guy?
No, I raged. I raged for sure. Moving out here, I kind of think I would rage more, to be honest, because we were closer to a city, and I always kind of wanted like that city lifestyle, and we did, like when we first came out. But I mean, me and her understand. I don't want to speak for her, but I'd like to think that I have a pretty good grasp of her attitude towards things, and she's really about, again, knows, very self-reflective. She knows what her expectations are in life, and she's not one to, she doesn't need to do any of that for any reason. It's not filling like a hole for her or giving her any type of weird brownie points or doing anything for her, I don't think. Yeah. I did, but because I've always been kind of like a social butterfly. Like I'm very outgoing. I try to be the center of attention when I go out and don't know people, because that's my way of coping. It's my way of adapting to situations. And if people look at me and laugh at my jokes, then I'm in. I'm good. If I can make you smile and we can get a high five or a hug out of it and be good, we're good. I'm having a good time. I'm gonna buy you a drink. We're gonna fucking party. We're gonna have a good time. But I just don't. That doesn't do anything for me anymore either. And in I guess kind of reflecting on myself, I was definitely doing it to fill voids. I was definitely doing it because I felt like maybe I wasn't good enough, didn't have the social circles that I wanted. Mm-hmm. I've realized looking back now that I definitely, it ramped up probably after a breakup. It ramped up off after maybe an emotional hard time. Maybe I fucking didn't have a good time at work, felt bad, felt shitty, bad day, whatever. Everybody has them. So my way of coping with that was to go out. It was filling a void at one time. There was definitely a purpose in that. Back to the social media topic, I think that that's what social media has done. Social media has been able to now give you a void filler without the necessity to go out, spend money, socialize. You see that with online gaming, man. You see that with people that tune into online streams and to, just streams in general, not even gaming, but people that have channels that go live every night. People do feel like they're a part of something when they join those. People do feel like when they get in the room and they get a response, from the creator, or they put something in the chat and people are going back and forth. People on Reddit, there are people that are on Reddit every single day, man, because that's their form of interaction. That's where they get their void filled, for whatever reason.
Someone said to me recently, I don't remember who it was, but some girl or something said that, I have a huge, might have been Knives. I don't know who it was, but, sounds like something Knives would say, but that, I have a huge void. Well, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know. I've tried a lot of different things. Alcohol is not something I think fills the void, or drugs, or...
It does. It does for some people.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't... I don't get, maybe it's not sex, maybe it's not emotions, maybe it's the connections, but there's not... It really has to be like a series of things. Like, for me, it's like the weather has to be right. Maybe, I don't know. It's something that I deal with, and
I think everybody does.
I think I sit. Since I work from home now, I'll just sit at home and stare at a screen, not do anything, and I think it's kind of like a little weird because I just don't know what to do.
Do you feel comfortable in social situations? Like if you were to go out and say go to a coffee shop and just hang out, do you feel comfortable?
I didn't used to be. Like I used to be.
I would agree to that. I think that I think we've talked about it before. I think you feel like you've maybe struggled in those areas, but you feel more comfortable.
When I was growing up, I thought everybody was, put together. I thought that no one else was feeling that way.
Yeah.
Like I thought I'm the only person in the room feeling like I got to run out and vomit or something.
Do you think that there's... What do you think that is? Why are so many people feeling that? Because I brought my friend up Andrew earlier, and I know we went off on another topic, but why do you think people are feeling... I believe that now everybody is understanding that everybody's kind of experienced this lost feeling at one point in their life or another.
Because in high school you're forced to be in a room with a bunch of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who's
College
the jock, you know who's the king captain.
The status symbols are very apparent.
They're very apparent, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you get in real life, it's not that apparent. So you're like, The Rock, really? You know, like, is he really that guy? Like,
that influence runs
I've
deep.
never met him before. You know, I never personally met him. I think from what I saw last night when he was doing the premiere of Hobbs and Haw, or
Hobbs and
Shaw.
Hobbs and Haw.
Hobbs and Haw. I did it again. Hobbs and Shaw. I think that he's an actor. He's an entertainer. He really went to the next level. He did the whole WWE interview. He did a whole WWE style interview with a girl interviewer that had no idea what was going on. Like, she's definitely like a popular, like a tabloid interview girl, but he's doing all the WWE.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Yeah, he's doing all that stuff while she's just like, she's not trained like those WWE.
She know how to respond,
reporters,
how to act,
because the reporters are usually like with them with it, like, yeah, get it off, get it off.
About WrestleMania 12.
And
do you think you have the skill set?
She wasn't in it, and I was watching him, and he even was messing with the cameraman with the angles and getting in with the wrestler angles.
Give him the eyebrow? Did he give the
eyebrow?
Yes, he did.
The eye, everything. Dude.
Yes, he did.
He was in it, and he was ha-ha-ing like a Hollywood actor and everything, and he's killing it, right? But is he really that guy? Like, is he the Tom Brady? When Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or these people were in college and they were the guy, I don't think The Rock was the guy in college or in high school or anything like that, but he may have developed to be the guy for the world.
I think he was, and the only reason I say that is I read his book when it came out when he was still wrestling. He wrote a book, but
I think there's a lot of people like Justin Bieber, a lot of these people out there that weren't the guy. They weren't the guy.
Oh no!
And now they're the guy. Ed Sheeran,
but are
Travis
they though?
Scott. Like,
are they though?
To Bieber, a lot of people, that's their idol. They were they weren't always the most popular in high school or whatever, but they eventually became to a popularity globally that they're seen as the guy.
I would like to make a bet.
Okay.
Not necessarily like an actual bet, but I would like to sit and say.
You would like to believe.
I would like to believe that anybody that says Justin Bieber is their idol, and this is no shot at Justin Bieber. Keep doing you, man. Anybody that sits and says Justin Bieber is my idol is either young or female.
Okay.
And I'm saying
I don't think so. Not anymore, man.
I won't even say female.
Okay.
Because females probably have an infatuation with Justin Bieber because he's Justin Bieber.
Yeah. I think a lot of dudes want to be Justin Bieber.
That's envy. That's not idol. That's not idolizing. That's envy.
No, because a lot of people want to be The Rock too.
That might be because The Rock's character shines through, though. The Rock is a genuine human being, I believe. And that's just because I've been very up and up on The Rock for a very long time. I think there are a lot
of guys out there that value Justin Bieber the same way as The Rock. Doesn't matter if he's a shyster or not. They're shysters, so they want to be the shyster like him.
But to be able to... Yeah, that could be. But then again, why? What does he do that is exemplary? That
crashes $1 million cars. He
does
rock star. He's the rock star.
That's exemplary. That's something
some people
to take
who want to be like a rock star and do shyster shit.
Are those people mature, you think?
Nobody cares about. I don't think that. I think in their world, maybe they're the most mature.
Yeah.
There are more shystery shysters.
That's a whole other fucking subject is support systems, people's tribes that they live in.
Mm-hmm.
What's your status symbol within your tribe? Mm-hmm. And then what's the status symbol when you fucking go to somebody else's tribe?
Like Justin Bieber's not even the most shysty person.
Right.
You think those guys that are like, they're really popular, but they're not in the public eye. So, then those guys, those ones that are, raping women and nobody says anything about it. Those guys that are drugging women and doesn't say anything about it.
The Brock Turners of the world?
That might be a good example. But I guess, I don't know, but I think that, what was the point of what I'm saying? So it was clear in high school and college as to who to look up to, but now it's like you look at this guy, is he really the person to look up to? Justin Bieber, clearly. Like, I'm not looking up to him, but he's got millions of dollars of sales. He's doing everything he needs to do to get it paid. Blah blah blah. Maybe it's manufactured. Maybe, you know, because Diddy and Usher and all that stuff's behind him.
Like, and you know, he caught away. I mean, again, not discrediting anything he does. He's a musician and he's, you know, killing the game. But
And nowadays, you can't tell with the Rock or with anybody whether they're actually what you're seeing on the movies or on television is actually the real them, because it's all computer generated graphics, CGI, deep fakes. I mean, yeah. That's,
I think, another topic for another fucking podcast. That's deep.
Well, I think that you said that. Two topics that I want to talk about was obviously, now that we are in this virtual reality, augmented reality world where we're comparing ourselves to things that aren't necessarily real, how do we, you know, measure our dicks or whatnot in that world? Because we can just have whatever size dick we want. Like, we can, if you're on Tinder, you could just say you have a 12-incher.
For the time being, there's nothing, I think, you can live a lot of lives and have a lot of, a lot of shit going on. Mm-hmm. But baseline is real life. Baseline is when you show up. I mean, for now, that could be changing, and it probably is changing.
I know my life is
very
not baseline,
rapidly.
Because I have to force myself to go do something, and by that time, I'm in the virtual reality world anyway.
But it is baseline because your food, your shelter, your interactions, and
I'm getting my food from McDonald's, so I mean,
which causes you to go out into the real. That's my point. The real world.
Well, yeah,
you can say you're a black man on Twitter, but then when you go and someone's able to link your Twitter with you driving through the McDonald's window and they got you in your car and you're a white dude, that's real life.
I think that's
real baseline. You can tell people you have a 12-inch dick, but then when the girl pulls your pants down in your bedroom and it's only 6 inches, that's baseline. That's real life.
Do you think then she exposes you? Do you think that she has any incentive to expose you if you don't have a 12-incher?
I mean, for what? For being a liar?
You and me, if we pulled our dicks out and we said we both have 12-inchers, and you happen to have a 11.5 or fuck whatever, I have a 3-incher, and I said I had a 12-incher. Okay, you and me might expose each other. I'll expose you for lying by 1/2 an inch. You'll expose me by lying for 8 inches, right?
I mean, I think that there's a.
No, that's not right. 9 inches.
I think that's. But there's a different level of exposure. Like, I'm gonna go, bro.
Is it worse that you're?
First of all, why are we both whipping our dicks out and having this dick measuring contest? Second of all,
because
why couldn't you same thing? Why couldn't you Trent, with me, Bryan, your friend, just be like, yo, this is my dick size? And I'm like, cool, bro. Dick size.
If we're in a party, okay, and we're at the party, and I have a verified Instagram and you don't,
okay, what
happens?
I don't know. Is it an Instagram party? Am I not allowed in if I don't have a blue check? Because then it means a lot. If it's just a party and
guess so,
you're the only person that cares about Instagram, it doesn't mean shit.
No, it does. Because, okay, now it goes down. What if I don't have an iPhone, you have an iPhone, and you can actually communicate with all of the women in the world? I have no ability to, because I don't have a blue chart. I'm a catfish, apparently, because I have an Android. So if I send them a message, it shows up as this is a bad example because
there's a conversation. And just wait, I feel like we have to fill in a gap. There's apparently some contention with people not having Android or not having Apple products, and if your text messages don't come in through the iMessage app where it's blue and gray as opposed to green and gray,
you're un-American. You're an Android. You're no pun intended. You're a catfish.
You're fake. You're not you. No blue, no you. We're not blue. It's not you.
Is this a hashtag thing? Has this been a motor? Is this around?
You brought it to my attention.
No, you said not blue, not you. Is that
people give me shit, but it's only.
People say that to you before? You've heard that before? Not blue, not you.
No, I made that up literally on the spot.
Hashtag not blue, not you.
Hashtag not blue, not you. That's
hashtag me. Not blue, not you.
Hearing it for the first time.
Here
on
it is.
The Trent Knox Show. Trent Knox TV.
That's going trending.
I hope so. Not blue, not you. No, the reason I've gotten shit for it is because people have tried sending me messages and I get them grainy because it's not that good quality, right? And like, bro, why don't you just have iMessage on? I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, 'cause I don't have it on.
Oh, you're talking about pictures?
Yeah, pictures, video, everything. Like, when people send you videos and you don't have iMessage on, but they send it through iMessage, they're this big and they're grainy as fuck. Like, I have an entire fight footage of me and my friends, and it's so bad I can't even do anything with it because I don't have iMessage on, and I refuse to turn it on just to get the better quality because I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm against not blue, not you. I'm against it.
Is that because you're not a menace to society, but raging against the machine?
Am I?
Is that your intention?
I'm connected every day of my life. I wish I wasn't, but I have to be, especially with the podcast, especially with my line of work, my career right now, my degrees in journalism and mass communication. I'm going to be connected probably for the rest of my life. Like, I don't know if I'm raging against the machine. I think I'm just taking it at my own pace. About not... Yeah, I don't know. We were talking about not being very...
Why not turn on iMessage?
I probably will, bro. I probably will when they
Why did you turn it off?
I never had it on. I've had the iPhone since this. You didn't have. It doesn't come on. Now it does, but it never did. And I used to have Android.
So it saved your settings.
I used to have Android, and when I switched over, I just never turned it on.
You never turned it on?
No.
Dude, I don't know, man. Continuity with the Apple devices where you can pick up a conversation on your AirPods, wherever you are. You just like pick it up on your iMac, your MacBook, whatever. That's incredible, you know, to be able to do that.
It is. That's all I have.
But at the same time, you give up a lot of... I feel like you're giving up freedom. I feel like with something like...
Oh, you're definitely confined
Apple,
within the Apple globe.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
the
like,
ecosystem of Apple. Yeah, absolutely.
So, for instance, the girls that I run into on Tinder, the girls that I run into in real life, the girls that I run into that I would want to make a preference for. A preference. They are either too encapsulated by the fact that I have a main
not blue,
device.
not you.
Not blue, not you. Otherwise, they're on social media. That's where they live their lives, especially in the city. City girls do that. They live on, oh, I got to get this Snapchat for all my Snapchat followers. Oh, I got to get it done. Kevin Hart. Sounded like Kevin Hart for a second there. But
Not Kevin Hart.
They got to get that in there to make it real, because their actual friends, the ones that they believe care about them,
They're virtual.
are virtual. They're not the ones that they go out with, because the ones they go out with are to make the photo look good.
They do. I've had people, literally, I work at a fucking retail location, at a retail store, and I've had couples sit and go, you didn't like my post? And they're right next to each other. And it's just like, wow.
So do you think people choose their partners in life based on if they look good in a photo? Because I think there's a vast difference thing. Because I think people don't look... I think people will make themselves look good in a photo, but not look that great in real life.
The first impression...
people who look great in real life don't look that great in a photo.
The first impression is no longer face-to-face contact. The first impression is now a profile picture. So if you want to make a good first impression, yes, you have to have a good profile picture. If people are actually dictating and basing their relationships and their love for one another on the profile picture, then that's shallow. But it's part of the game. We all got to play. You want to make a good first impression, better have a dope-ass profile picture.
Yeah.
I believe so. We sit 2.5 hours, by the way.
So, okay.
6:17.
Last but not least,
there's a bunch of sound bites in this fucking episode. It's fucking great. Not blue, not you. Profile picture is the new first impression. I should start coining these.
If we're on a jet, we're on a rocket ship.
Where we going?
We're finally leaving the planet. We're leaving social media behind.
real quick. Not that I fucking matter, because I'm just a piece of scum that does a podcast. But if we can really just focus on Earth, that'd be awesome. What were you saying? Not during this conversation. Just, I feel like we're in a real rush to get off the planet because everything's melting and we're all going to die. But it'd be nice if we can just make this like a dope place for the next couple hundred years.
I don't think we'll live past. We won't notice it. But
well,
anyway,
we won't. But
so we're on a rocket ship. We're on Elon Musking.
Mm-hmm.
What do you take with you?
Do I have a limit?
3 items.
3 items. Do people count as an item? I have a ticket. My friend has a ticket.
Yeah.
We both okay.
Just ignore that.
Item.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Currently,
And you don't have to sacrifice one of your items for your like significant other or something like that.
Everybody's got a ticket. You just get 3 items.
Yeah. Personal.
My phone, just because it's got everything. My pictures, my way of communicating. You
won't be able to charge it. I mean.
Oh, okay. So we're actually taking.
I'm kidding. I'm
not gonna get any fucking LTE up on Mars. My phone.
Dun dun dun. Oh man, I forgot one part of this segment was the Bob Lazar conversation.
Oh no, that's a whole episode, sir. That's not a segment. That's a whole episode. My phone.
All right.
I'm taking a. I want to say my jiu-jitsu gi, but I don't know if that's a fact. I don't know if I really would take my jiu-jitsu gi, but
that's interesting.
My phone.
This is kind of like external. You could wear your gi.
Okay.
You know, like it doesn't.
My phone, for the 100th time.
So funny because I think everybody would take their phone.
I mean, practically though. I mean, I'm not. I know we're sitting here and we're questioning technology's place on the planet and why it's affecting us all the way it is. But let's be real. Phones are a convenience. I have photos on there of my loved ones. I have notes, pictures. I can do a podcast on it. It's a necessity. My dog. Can I take my dog?
I think
one of them.
Your dog is
already there. Got a ticket too.
It's got a ticket too.
Okay. Fuck. It's a good question. My phone. A notebook.
That's a good one. Even though most people would be like, "What are you gonna? How are you gonna write?" Like, what's the point in writing?
I know. Do I have to say a pen too? Cause
no, you have your phone. You have your phone, but I mean,
I know.
So you gotta have paper and pen. Paper and pen is like a combined thing.
I may just need my phone, dude. I have books. I'm trying to think of books. I can have them on my phone. I'm trying to think of music. Have it on my phone. Like, I might just need my phone. I might need my phone and a charger.
Phone, charger.
A phone, a charger, and a $2 bill. I have a $2 bill that is
cool.
sequential with Becca, who has the next number $2 bill, and I'm taking that. I'm taking my phone, a notebook, and $2 bill.
Yeah, I think I'm taking my phone. I think if I had anything extra, like maybe like a pillow.
I was looking at the pillow and I was thinking of pillow, but I'm like, if I'm on a spaceship, better have a goddamn headrest. I don't need a fucking pillow.
Well, I don't know if we're on the luxury.
Well, that's true. We might be coach. We might be on the.
Might be on the one, but some sort of comforting device, something to lay on, because there's nothing going on. I think headphones.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, headphones for sure, dude.
Yeah, I don't want to know about
if I'm running on Mars, I gotta have headphones for sure.
Well, not that. I'm trying to silence. You know, if
everybody
I had
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because everybody's gonna be bitching about like how hot it is or
how fucking can't see.
We're so far from home. Why are we ever gonna get there?
Hey, fucking maybe start recycling and fucking stop buying gas cars. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in an environmental.
Dude, I've seen a couple of devices that are really cool to me. The one was that are coming out. They've made several different iterations of this, but the Bose sunglasses.
Oh yeah.
They go to your temple lobe.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yep.
Next thing, I can't remember what they're called. They're called like Neuro headphones. They're on the ear, but they're also in ear, and they adapt to your hearing. So both the new Galaxy Gear Icons, the headphones, and the AirPods
have adaptive listening, so you can have them in and you can be playing music and still hear what people are talking. It's fucking crazy. You can't really describe it without doing it, without being able to hear the music, but then have like a passage to where what people are talking about come in. And then you can also leave your phone, right? You can have a setting on your phone. Like, let's say you and me let's say you're in my store and I'm trying to sell you some shit, right? Mm-hmm. And like maybe you're talking about it with your wife or whatever. I can leave my phone on the counter and walk into the back, and I can hear what you're talking about through my phone. It's fucking dope, dude. Google does it with their phone. Google, if I'm in a meeting and you're calling me and it's in like an emergency or I need to figure out what you're saying, you don't want to leave a voicemail, I can hit a button and my phone will let you know that I'm listening to what you say while you're on the phone. And as you're saying it, I get a live voicemail. So as you're talking, it transcribes it for me, so I know what's going on.
The Google Pixel?
Rather than having to call and listen to your voicemail and text.
Samsung doesn't do that.
As far as I know, only the Pixel does it. The new one probably will, but yeah.
So
Roger
they
has
can call and talk?
Yeah, Roger has it.
You don't. I'll check it out.
I'll have him demo it, yeah.
All right, so this is the Talking
Heads.
No, that's my podcast.
Oh, Talking
Shop podcast. Forgot my own titles.
It's all good.
Talking Shop podcast with Bryan, Kern. Thank you very much. If you want to do a shout out to your social medias on the way out.
Of Bryan of Death on Twitter and Instagram. The Common Chaos on Twitter and Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, The Common Chaos. CommonChaos.net's my website. You can get all my episodes. I'm also on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, all the good stuff. I'm there. Check my podcast out, Common Chaos. I have a couple episodes with Trent on there. Very thought-provoking conversations, just like always. And I appreciate you having me on, brother. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad you came over and we decided to do this and got some equipment and we're making it happen.
Have a great day.
You too, brother. 2 hours, 30 minutes, and 49 seconds, son.
Dude, I hope I recorded it. I didn't record it on my camera for some reason.
On that?
Yeah, no, I just live streamed it.
Oh, but where's who?
Facebook, I think. I'm checking.